All right, guys, how are y'all tonight? Glad to be here. I kind of feel like I got this guy lurking beside me over here.
What's up? Hey, David. Glad to be in the Clack Shack.
So I got Steve on a stick with me tonight.
No, I'm really here.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm not being held against my will at this moment.
Sharon's here in case you are though. She said she can call some. She can call somebody. Uh, well, how are y'all guys? I'm gonna go through here and see who all's here. I've been trying to. Me and Steve been working on this project over here for a while, so we didn't get in here very early. And why is my mouse? What has happened there?
That's a nice feature.
I don't know what's happened there. What's up, Jim? Steven, Cody Elkins says he'll see us in 30 minutes. I'm guessing maybe that was 30 minutes ago. So apparently Cody may or may not be here. What's up, Sharon? How are you, ma'am? Aldrich Custom Crafts. Sharon Thompson. Got two Sharons in the house tonight.
Very nice.
All right. Larry from Waco, Texas. Hello, sir. Scott Sparrow. Hello from North Mississippi. Brian, how are you, sir? Mark Patterson, Mr. Larry Broom. Larry, good to hear you made it back up to Tennessee today. Good meeting you, and I'm glad you had a safe trip. No mechanical failures or anything like that. That's terrible. So Tom, Brad Ham, Brandon, Chuck, Debbie, Robert, North Alabama Barbecue Bullets and Big Rigs. How are you, sir? Don Owens, Gene Phillips. There's Cody. Apparently, Cody did make it back. So, what's up, Cody? Steve tried breaking one of my genie bits, but it didn't work.
I did not. I encourage you to use it to its full capacity.
But yeah, I'm telling you, he's trying to tear my stuff up since he's been here. He's like, if you break them, Cody will get you another one. But yeah, if we'd have broke it, I'd be letting you know, but we didn't. So good news there. What's up, Bert? How are you? Miss Sharon, hello again. Victor, Mark. Uh, yeah, Jack wants to know if you got lost.
Well, Google tried to get me lost on the way down here, but no.
He took the long way here, but yeah, he made it. How did the open house at May May's go? We'll get to that in just a second. I mean, make sure I've said hey to everybody that's kind of needing a shout out here. Don't let me forget about that one. We
Yeah.
need to go over that. What's up, James Richardson from Ozark, Alabama? David from New Hampshire. Dave Ghosty, what's up? How are you, sir? Matthew with a Boomer. Lot of comments today, guys. So, hey, if you're commenting, make sure you hit that like button down there too, because I mean, this is one of only two lives that we've done so far where the two of us are actually in the same building. Now, hopefully, there'll be more to come over the years, but
Yeah.
this is only the second time that we've actually been in the same live together, so that's pretty cool.
Well, Sunday Night Live,
Sunday Night Live, yeah,
because you did
yeah,
you
we
did your
did,
little impromptu Facebook
yeah,
live. We'll
the
we'll get to that, but
yeah, we did that the other day. But yeah, old guy designs. How are you, sir? Had enough. Joseph, DD, how are you? And Greg Wilson, Nature Photography, and Miss R. Flaw from Harrodsburg, Kentucky.
mm,
I bet they got some pretty good music up there.
oh yeah,
Bluegrass.
yeah.
But how's everybody going? Yes, as you can tell, and if you hadn't already noticed, this guy beside me here, he is he's been here for a few days now. We did go to May May's open house on the 20th. It was fun. Like I said, Saturdays generally the lesser of the busy days. But I had some stuff going on with family, and Steve was driving as much as he could drive to try to get here. So we didn't participate Friday. We went up Saturday. And then Saturday afternoon, we also went up to Pedals from the Past, which is in the north end of the county where I live, and it's some of the homestead YouTube channels in the area. One or two of them, which live really, actually three of them live really close to me. Uh, Jason and Brooke over at Cog Hill Farms. You had Zoe and Nick from over at Chestnut Hills Farms, and then the folks from G&G Farms. They all live and travel right here near me. Steve has got his share of the Flying Peach Barbecue, which is like 2 miles from my house. It's a little country shop, family owned and operated barbecue joint, and we've ate their supper twice this week.
Yeah, both nights.
Yeah, and then tonight Brandy actually cooked for us, cooked us some steaks, so that was good. Uh, Greg is concerned that you're having to sleep in the shack.
No, actually, I got upgraded to the chicken pen, so that was really exciting with the little thunderstorm last night. They did wake me up early, but no, in reality, Clack's got a good friend at loaned us a camper, and so I've got a pretty good
There it is, right there, guys.
pretty good Airbnb on site, right? I mean, right outside the shack, and so that's very much appreciated. I don't have to run into town and pay a crazy amount because hotels are like booked up all over around here. So
Yeah, well, this is Talladega weekend,
Yep.
and Talladega weekend in Central Alabama, pretty much all of the motel rooms that aren't already sold, you're not going to want to rent them because they intentionally charge a little more around Talladega time. And Steve found that out when he was trying to get a motel room, and so negotiated with a friend of mine and got him the camper out there, got it set up. He's got hot water, air conditioning, his own. Brandy went and bought new sheets and everything, and had him a little care package in there. So I think it was I think we did pretty good as far as I guess our first attempt at what a VRBO or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we done okay. He seems to be happy with it. Other than the dogs barking and the rooster crowing,
uh,
I think we're good so far.
yeah.
He did bring some cold weather with him though.
If it followed me down here, I can't blame it. I didn't intentionally bring it.
It was like 80 degrees yesterday. Steve shows up 2 days ago. It was like 80 degrees. Steve shows up, and tonight it's supposed to be in the 40s. So did Steve bring cold weather or what? I mean, somebody at the state line missed it when he was coming down or whatever.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't get stopped at the checkpoint.
Yeah, the weather checkpoint didn't catch him. But
So
Chris said you don't even have air conditioning in your own shop.
this is true. Although I don't need it most of the months, but I will here. You know, we're having freeze warnings back home. I'm getting those alerts on my phone, but I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm going to get back, and it's probably going to be jumping right into summer. And I was swatting mosquitoes in my shop before I came down here. It had warmed up, and the bugs are coming out, and we don't quite have the leaves on the trees. Things are starting to bud, and the grass is starting to grow, but it's going to go from winter to like this brief. There's like usually about 4 hours in one afternoon we get spring,
Yeah.
and then it's going to jump right into summer for us. So, and then possibly back into winter, and then back into summer.
Yeah, but it's been. Steve came down here and like I've been cutting my grass now for over a month. Everything is in full bloom. It's really really green. I'll try to get you guys outside to maybe tomorrow. It was raining today. I don't think there's any rain in the forecast tomorrow. It was kind of soggy up at the sawmill. We went up there and kind of scouted it out. But maybe tomorrow we can get outside, go up to the mill, do some stuff or whatever. Steve brought some materials with him, some wood with him when he came down, which we've used some of it, and we made the project right here.
Yeah.
And guys, yes, we gave it to May yesterday. It's a CNC project that me and Steve did. Steve brought the wood down with him from Minnesota. This is some birch that he got from a friend of his that has a sawmill. He brought the wood down. We did the CNC file, designed it, and did it over here on the Shipoko. We sanded it, like just kind of. I mean, we brainstormed on what we were going to do out of this piece of wood, and then we got it put together. And then we were like, this is technically the first ever project that me and this guy did together. Like we both had hands on it. We kind of brainstormed on how do we want to do it? What depth do we want to go here? Do we want to use Cody's bits or somebody else's? No, we didn't have that discussion. But do we want to do a V carve? Just do it like really deep. Like we did 7 millimeters deep V carve over here, and then we did like 3 millimeters deep over here with a V carve. But we used a 1/8 inch to do the clearance pass with. We both of us had input into this. We both sanded on it and fixed it and done all this stuff. So I was like, it's pretty neat. And May, she's been a friend of mine for a long time. She's helped me out with the channel stuff. And so I felt like it was only fitting, since we were coming to her event and everything, that we would, give this to, make something for her. So we made this, and we were like, man, it's pretty cool. But when it came time for us to put, like, we wanted to put our logos on there and just basically say this is the first ever project that we did together, where the wood came from and all that. So we had a discussion, like a legitimate 30-minute discussion on whether we put it, on the front edge or up here or under the bottom or whatever. And we decided we're just going to put it on the bottom so that, not everybody has to see it. And so
it's where you typically
so
put a maker's mark.
that's what we did, just like most of the stuff that we make, we put our mark under the bottom so that if you want to like validate or, kind of your certificate of authenticity, you can roll it under and look under the bottom. So that's what we did. And we were like, man, this is awesome. This is going to look cool. Well, May she loved it, but she's like, why didn't y'all put that where you could see it? And we're like, we're not supposed to. So anyway, that's why we still have it, because she told us to bring it back and take that design and put on the back so that people could see it. So, that's our first ever project collaboration, the date we did it and everything. I got a little note down here. Says, made in a shack with birch wood from Minnesota, provided by Steve. But we both had hands on this as far as the design, the layout. We did modify her logo slightly to kind of make it look like we wanted it to look. And we were afraid she was going to get a little upset about that. But she liked it.
Yeah, she liked it.
She liked it. So that's why this is still here. But May, if you're watching, we got it fixed, but you still got it down here too. So it's both places. But she seemed to like the project. That was the very first collab we did, and today we've done another project. I'll let Steve kind of give you some teasers. We can't tell them everything though, because then they won't watch the video.
Well, first, I feel it's only fair to answer the question on screen. Brian's wondering why did you give me the lower chair? So Brian. I
It's got adjustments.
I willingly took this chair because I feel really bad. We've been walking around, and Clark keeps saying, "Man, I'm not used to walking and feeling short." So I thought, okay, well, I'll sit lower, and he can look, a little more eye to eye, or slightly down on me for this 2 hours, and that's why.
No, you've got a little lever.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you also put me at the little kids' table.
Well, yeah, he did get the kids' table. But it was because he wanted to be able to throw those comments like that on the screen. So he's like, I had to get my laptop and sit over here. So, but yeah, it's we've been working on another project, and this is it behind us. And I don't know how much he wants to tell you, so I don't want to really spill the beans on it. But it's a pretty neat project, and this is project collab number 2.
Yep.
So far.
So when we were at May's and we had the portable clack shack out, and if you didn't catch the video, Clack had recently reworked it because you got the Atom Stack A24. He wanted to swap that out for you had the original X-Tool D1 in there, and this just it's a little more compact, has a little more power, has the viewing all around it, and it makes for a better display piece when out at events, and still allow you to work on it. And I was looking at it kind of the way he had it secured to the top of his bench. Now he's got what is it, like 4 feet by 5 feet or something like that?
Yeah, it's like 6 feet long, 4 feet wide.
Yeah, so it's a pretty big table where you've got your setup, but you got some product in front of it, and especially this week where I'm at, I'm going to be going over to an event and hopefully being able to do some demos there and using this. But I just had my stuff with, I'd have to have a folding table and set stuff out. So I kind of took his idea and said, let's see if we can make a platform to kind of capture all this. So the laser's kind of held in place on the board.
Yeah, and we have I can do the
overhead camera. The laser is held in place on the board, and then inside here we've got the honeycomb, and this is kind of held in place. So I'll be able to, if you look back here, maybe you can kind of see in the corner there's a little bracket there. And then all the way in the back, you see we've got the air pump, we got my power bricks, and we've got all the cable management and such. Anyway, we got this kind of worked onto a board that will kind of contain it all. It'll actually make it easier it can overlap the table a little bit, but not take up all the space. And even 3D, I know this is really weird salmon color here, but he 3D printed a little holder for the focus tool as well. So
yeah, I have a focus tool. Mine's in the shack.
So it's basically a nice way to keep it contained. I wouldn't want to carry this around on altogether too much, but I should be able to like slide this in and out of the van a couple times, and you could transport it this way. It's going to hold things in place, but it's just going to keep everything kind of contained a little bit better. be something you can set up on more of a portable table, folding table. So
Yep.
we worked on that today. I'm going to try to cut together the video footage here in the next day or two, so you'll hopefully see that as well. But yeah, it was kind of a fun thing to see both of our, how we would engineer things, how we would, route some cables and make different hold downs and such.
And how many machines we could use on
And
one
yeah,
project?
and how many machines from Clack's shack here we could utilize in it. So so that was collaboration number 2 is kind of done. We got some more projects in mind, some more things to hopefully get done in the next couple days as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we wound up on this one project, guys. We used the Shipoko. We wound up using the A70 to cut some 1/2 inch stock that we needed for some holders, and then I made some little Velcro bone holders and a couple of other little pieces to hold things steel and kind of do cable management. And we were designing the files or either modifying files that I already had, and then I cut some of them out of 1/4 inch birch over here on the X40. So it was like we used 3 or 4 machines to complete the project, but it was fun and it's really neat. And when he releases the video, hopefully we'll have a little bit better close-up view of kind of how everything went together. But it worked out to be a really nice project because I think Steve got a little bit envious of the portable Clack Shack and the way that it was organized. And I think his OCD started kicking in. He's like, mine's not going to be that organized, so I got to fix it. And we did.
Yeah, no,
It looks great. It looks great.
It looks great, and I can still everything's still
Yeah.
it's not hard fixed to anything. I mean, it's snug.
Yeah, the hardest thing is the Velcro.
But everything can come out if I want to set it up at home on a bench and not have it in this orientation. It's still easily moved around. So
Yeah.
it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, Chris, it wasn't a serial number 1, but like I said, I did put the date on there. It was our first ever collab and all that. So she'll have that. I told her that it might actually be worth something one day. So maybe. Thank you, Bob. And yeah, we got to see Bob Weir. He said it looked good.
Yep.
I think he's talking about I don't know if he's talking about Maymay's thing or the setup or both, because he saw both. Yeah, but Bob came out to Maymay's and hung out with us for a while. It was good to see you there, sir. Bob's been down to Clanton, I know, a couple of 3 times because I've seen him down there. So Aaron is asking about something that up until recently you had absolutely no idea about.
Well, I mean,
And
I hadn't seen one in person.
The Lasermatic
so,
MK2.
you know.
Because Steve actually got to kind of play around. We used it to do some cutting and some small stuff the other day. And he actually got to see the Lasermatic in action. So it was the first time he has. And I mean, I don't know that was it what you expected? Were you disappointed? Were you excited? Or I mean, neutral?
I mean, it's been talked up so much that I think I had high expectations for it, and in many ways it's got a lot of things going for it. In some ways, it's another diode laser, So
Yeah.
But it is finished off really well. The thing that I think you like most about it, that I'm attracted to it on, is the fact that the honeycomb locks in place with pins, and you can key off that 0 on the corner of the honeycomb is 0 on the laser.
Basically, the edge of the honeycomb is the boundary.
So you can really key off of that without having to set up a lot of extra stuff to. I mean, you could use that as a real base.
Yeah, and that's what we were doing when we did because we actually did Maymay's plaque thing on the MK while we were working on some other stuff. We started it, let it burn. So he actually got to see it. He got to see it running. But yeah, he. It's a decent machine if you're just getting into it. As long as the work area and guys, like I said, I wouldn't say relationships, but I work with all the different companies. I don't pick, choose, or prefer one company over the other per se. Some of the companies like sending me stuff better than others. Same with Steve. I mean, we have certain companies that will basically ask us, will you please take this machine? And then we have other companies that aren't quite so generous. But, I haven't really run across too many bad machines so far. They all have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses. I do find that, some machines excel at some stuff. Like I said, the Roy, the MK2, not a bad machine for somebody starting out, as long as you're good with the work area, as long as you're good with it being in an enclosure And there are some limitations that come with it having its own enclosure, as far as you can't add some of the things that like I add to my enclosures, because Steve's kind of been pouring over some of my enclosures because I have changed them since he was here last, and I think he's probably going to steal a few of my ideas when he gets back home. But I like to do different things with my enclosures as far as ventilation, air extraction, and stuff like that. That a lot of the companies, I still feel like, as good as the machines are, they still is a lot of room for improvement when it comes to exhaust extraction. I still think they're missing. I mean, they're putting them closer in the back and closer to the bottom. I'm still waiting to see that machine that has it coming straight down through the bottom of the machine and limits access from the debris and the smoke to the laser module. Haven't seen that yet, except in my own custom built enclosures. So maybe one day. But the MK2, it's not a bad machine. The Atom Stacks, not a bad machine. The X Tools, not a bad machine. If it's a bad machine, you probably won't see it here.
Yeah.
Sitting around here. If it's sitting out where you can see it here, it's not a bad machine at all. So, will you be getting A70 Max to review? Somebody just asked me if I would be getting A70 Max to review.
Well,
No, the Max. No. I can't handle the Max. I do have. Well, for some reason that camera's not working. But I do have the A70 Pro set up over here, and I've been using it, been running it. Matter of fact, me and Steve been cutting a lot of the parts for this project. Were cut on an A70 because it was 1/2 inch birch, and it does a really good job with a 1/2 inch birch. So and you've got one too.
Yeah, we both were offered a version of the A70.
The Max.
We were both given the choice between the Max or the Pro, and we both opted for the Pro because of that size. Neither of us have the space to set up and really utilize the laser.
I don't have the jobs to really justify that much work area.
Yeah, so the Pro was really attractive to us in the fact that it's 400 by 500. It's more of the typical size, and so we both got them roughly the same time. You got yours a day before me and cracked open your live and such, and we had some fun with that. So I had been trying to get mine done, but between trying to get ready for this trip down here and such, and work just being really busy for me, I wasn't able to able to get all the quality stuff done beforehand. So we're doing some more stuff here that I'm gonna use in mine, and then when I get back, I'll be able to hopefully tie it all together and get into a few more of the details I like to cover in mine. My review will be out hopefully within the next week and a half or so. I mean, I won't be home for another week or so.
Yeah, because you'll be on the road, and then we got some pretty cool stuff we're gonna be working on.
So mine will be coming. I wanted to get it out before I came down here, so that when I got back, I could maybe just play around with it some more. But mine will be coming too. But so far, I posted a few teasers on my Facebook page of some of the tests I've been playing with it. Really impressive as far as,
yeah, I've got a couple of pieces somewhere right in there that we've cut. Matter of fact, there's where we've been cutting all day.
Yeah. So this is 1/2 inch plywood. We cut a lot of those feet out of, and this is single pass.
I did like mess up a setting or two. A timer.
Yeah, we were doing some testing on there, so there's some things that didn't quite. We stopped the job before we let it go too long.
And this is like cabinet grade birch.
Yeah, it's technically just a hair under a 1/2 inch. I think we said what was like 19.5 millimeter. It's
12.
Like
when we see that piece, it was like 12.6, I think.
Oh yeah, 12. Yeah.
12.6. Yeah, 12.6. We went 12.63, I think, to get through the skin.
So just a touch under 1/2 inch, and performing well in that. I did some actual engraved tests as well before I left. So while it's going to have a little less quality than your 10 and your 20 watts.
Yeah.
But I think they're doing better with the combining lenses, and they're getting that spot size to kind of stay more consistent, even from the 20 on up to the 40 and the 70s. But that's one of the things I kind of want to test. I've got the 40 at home, I've got the 70 at home, I've got the the 20 watt machines that I can compare it to, really kind of see material to material. Seeing how that curve changes is going to be the best kind of indicator of that spot size.
Yeah, I think there has to be a little bit of an increase, but it's not enough to really. especially for cutting. It's because I mean most of these pieces of this half-inch material we're having to punch them out anyway because it's because the material is so wide it just won't fall flat down. So if it had too much curve, those pieces would just drop. But
Yeah.
it's I think it's good for what it is. It is definitely thinner than a bandsaw. The kerf is
Oh, yeah,
definitely
yeah,
thinner than
yeah,
a bandsaw.
yeah, yep.
Bob's wanting to know how we got the black on Maymay's plaque so dark. This is Bob. This is a CNC project. This is not laser. We did this on the CNC, and we used Oramask on the material for the engrave before we did it, and then we used the both the bits we used were from Cadence Manufacturing from Cody. We used the 1/8 inch. Is it skinny? That's not skinny Jenny. Slim Jenny, which is the 1/8 inch down cut bit.
Yep.
And then we used the down cut.
The 60-degree,
Was it 60 or 30?
60 degree
V bit.
down cut.
And we did
V-bit.
we did the V carve with that. And then before we pulled the Oramask off, I used some polyacrylics to start with to seal the wood with, and then once we got the wood sealed with the clear polyacrylic, then we went back over it with black spray paint. And then once the paint dried, of course, we pulled the Oramask off and lightly sanded it and blew it out with an air hose. So that is not burned. That is a 7 millimeter deep V carve recess on the name right there, and then it's painted backfill. So that's why it's so dark. It's black. It's semi-gloss black paint. Yeah, Rick. All of my enclosures are downdrafts. Every one of my enclosures draws the smoke from inside below the cutting surface. Every enclosure I have in my shop that I've built. So, Orfs is asking, what do you feel the limiting factor of the X2 P2 is? Obviously, the cutting size is a
Well,
limiting.
I mean, you could say the cutting size. You can always get the conveyor, but realistically, unless you're setting that up permanently to use a conveyor in the center of your shop, yeah, I would say the cutting size is probably the biggest limiting factor there. Things I'd like to see different. You can pull out the exhaust fan and just put a port on there, so you can run your own extraction system pretty easily on there and tell the software to turn
Yeah.
off the fan. But I would love to have like their pump bypass to be able to use shop air. If you've got a different source.
Yeah, that would be nice if you could disengage the factory pump and just plug in your own air supply. That would be cool.
That would the pump works pretty well. It's not
It's
bad.
it's a little noisy.
But yeah, it's a little noisy, and it's there are times where it's just nice to be able to dial in your own your own PSI, your own airflow, and such on that. So that would be there. Outside of that, I mean, if you're the advantages to it is it's kind of an all-in-one unit, and if you have nothing else, it works well with XCS, and you can get going with that. The LightBurn support is it's still trying to capture some of those special extra features. The cameras aren't necessarily usable yet in that. So if you're using it in that aspect, you're going to have some limiting factors there. And dollar for dollar, there are cheaper ways to get into a CO2 laser, but this is a nice kind of compact, all-in-one
And
setup.
I think it's more geared toward people like that started out with like an X2D1,
Yep.
and they got familiar with the software, familiar with the company or whatever, and liked it, and decided they wanted to get into CO2s. There, like you said, there are other CO2s that have a bigger work area that you can get cheaper than this one. X-Tool, there is an infrastructure and a kind of a, it's more you're buying like a kit, like the whole deal, whether it be the software or all these different things, access to their materials. The Glowforge machines were one of the first ones to go for this whole. You don't just buy the machine; you're buying an environment. You're buying the machine, you're buying the materials, you're buying the files, and I think that's where a lot of these machines go. You don't have to go down that path. You can go with the, just buy the machine, and then you bring the software and you bring the files and stuff, and go that route too. They do cost. The X Tool does cost a little more, but it has appeal for some people that want especially that package. So it's it's not a bad machine. Uh, yeah, the MK2. Yeah, they came out with that leak kit. I need to get me one for mine, I guess. But I don't worry as much about it. But mine also, every now and then it hit that crack, and it will shine some blue light down the bottom of it. It did that on us yesterday, or day before yesterday.
Yep.
Acrylic. I have no idea what you're. I mean, I've heard everybody else talking about it, but that's not. I mean, it's not something I'm familiar with, and I really don't know what to tell you about them. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think we both looked a little bit at the coverage of the new Aeon lasers and such, and there's definitely some cool things about them, but you know, that's not your typical hobbyist or
that's a
starting
very
small business.
serious
That's
hobbyist.
you've got some funding to get behind that because you're talking what we looked at it and it's around 12 grand to get into that laser.
I can't remember. I want to say you said 11 and some change.
So that's a jump up from kind of what our typical viewers and what we really look for in our shops as well. It looks like a nice laser if you're an established business or you've gotten that massive number of jobs and such.
The 7, they said the 9. Okay, I gotta find the 9. I haven't. I thought that was it.
So I mean, it is a bit of a step up from your typical lasers that we look at and a lot of the people that follow us are probably working with as well. So
I don't see the 9. Not seen it yet.
but I mean even that at 8 or 9 grand, I mean it's a jump up there. There you go. So the Mirror 9 starting at 10,495.
Yeah, $10,495. I'm just gonna be honest. I would really have to start cranking out a lot of laser stuff, and it would have to be to the point to where I physically could not keep up with the machines that I have before I could justify that. I mean, I don't, but because there's two ways to increase profit. One is increase productivity and increase profit, but the other is also to minimize overhead, minimize expenses. So right now, I try to do both. I try to minimize my overhead and increase my output to the best of my ability. Now, if it ever came to the point to where I had, the means, maybe. There's a lot of nice machines out there that I would love to have, but unfortunately, I have a budget, and I have to work within that budget. Because if I get too far off into the weeds with my budget, next thing you know, the clack shack is broke and can't keep the lights on. And then everybody comes and gets all my nice equipment and takes it away. And so, yeah, maybe one day, but yeah, not currently. Which laser is behind Steve? Well, that's a tricky question because it depends on how far back we go.
The one directly behind us, that's the Atom Stack A24 Pro. And we mentioned this a little bit earlier that we were working on a more condensed setup for it. So that's why it's on the bench here. This is actually the one I brought down with me to be able to use while I'm on the road and at my next event that I'm going to with model airplane stuff. I'm hoping to do some demonstrations for some of my friends and other people there. So yeah, that's been on both our channels. So if you're curious about it, definitely check out those videos.
Yeah, it doesn't have the lights or anything on it right now, so it's just orange and black. Bob's wanting to know what the size of the Max was. I guess we're talking about the Atom Stack A70 Max, and the one that they were wanting to send me was 850 by 850 is what they told me it was.
I think it was 800 by 850.
It was 800 by 850. Yeah, but it's way bigger than I needed.
So yeah, that's 850 would be about 34 inches, so about 30 by 34 inches, give or take. So that's it would take up this whole table space.
Yeah, the footprint would be very close to 40, probably 42 inches.
Yeah, it's close to 4 foot square. So
it's really close. And I have the Atom Stack X40 Max, which is a little over 400 by 850, and that machine, I do a lot of jobs on it, and I make do with it. In order for me to house something bigger, I would have to have products that I needed to do that I can't do with this machine. And right now, I don't have those products. So I don't want to get into a machine to try to support it or to try to provide space for it if I don't have the work for it to be doing. So kind of the same reason I'm not fixing to spend $10,000 on a laser. Uh, it's just I'm making money with what I got, and I don't know. But I've seen a lot of I've seen everybody talking about it as well. And I'm not saying they're bad machines. I have no reason to think that they are. Haven't seen one. It looks pretty cool. But I've also seen other machines that I think are pretty cool as well. So, but price dictates a lot of decisions here at the shack, and price is very important. Illusion Custom Design says, I've been 3D printing for 8 years now, and I'm ready to take on lasers and woodworking. I'm finding most diode lasers won't cut what I want to make, but the big bed CO2 lasers are expensive. I don't know what you're trying to cut.
Well, I mean, the big ones would be, like clear acrylic or transparent acrylic, and then larger materials, in size. So if those are the areas, especially if you're looking at clear acrylic, that's kind of a job for CO2, or you can do some of that with, the right bits on a CNC and such. But the diodes have come a fair way, so if you're talking about some thicker materials or even larger bed sizes, there are some options there.
Let's say that A70 Max, that would be very comparable to a lot of the CO2s on the market.
I'd love them to do the A70 mid max. I don't know.
Almost max.
Give us something that's 800 wide, but 500 deep. Something like that.
No, that would be a good combo.
Would be a nice size that isn't quite as massive.
And I mean, I guess you could purchase you one and then you could just chop it.
Well, you could try.
Yeah, but I've had a couple people ask me about the Max, and from what I've read and from what I've seen, guys, the only real difference between the Max and the A70 Pro is simply the size of the work area. The axes are longer. I think it's the same extrusion, the same build. Everything about it looks to be the same. To be honest with you, as bulky as it is, I think it's going to be fine with the larger frame. I'm not going to say there's probably not going to be a little more deviation in the larger one than there is in the shorter one, but I don't see it being enough to cause an issue. And no, Cody, we did not, because we were in a hurry. Cody's wouldn't know if we ormasked it.
Yeah,
before we ormasked it. We were in a hurry. It was last minute, and we had like 2 hours. Like we were really pressing this thing through production. So we cut some corners.
I was half zombie too.
Yeah, and Steve had been driving all day. We cut some corners, but it worked out in the long run. But yeah, we had a little touch of bleeding, but luckily most of it is barely noticeable, and the untrained eye wouldn't see it anyway. So it passed inspection with May. We're good. I told you if I could sneak it past my mom's getting the CNC. Did you get the CNC, Bob? Did you go home and get yourself a CNC, Bob? He said he was going to try. All right, she says, my husband has a woodworking shop and makes handmade canoe paddles. What would be a good one to engrave his name on them? Right now, all I can do with this is wood burning. Depending on how big of a logo you're wanting, you could get by with a really small budget on that. Depending on if all you're wanting to do is put a maker mark on those things, there's a whole bunch of machines you could use. Most any open frame would work, but if it's a boat paddle, I'm guessing it's just a standard size boat paddle, and you're doing maybe what, a 3-inch logo, 2-inch, maybe even an 1.5 inch logo.
Depends.
There's a lot of these handheld machines, such as one of Steve's latest machines, the
which one?
Hang on. The Laser Pecker 2 that Steve has. The longer Nano would actually do a decent job of it. The X-Tool F1 would be a good one. I mean, there's a lot of different machines that, if you're just wanting to put a mark on something like that, you could, especially if you built yourself a little jig for it, you could really churn those things out if all you're wanting to do is put a logo on those. But you would probably want to go ahead and get a bigger one, because eventually you're going to be like, oh, that looks cool. Let me do even more custom engraving to them, and you're going to need more work area. So, but yeah, just know that that's a real possibility. Brian Smith as asking you a question, and I'm going to let you answer that one. Uh,
Where is it?
it's right there, with the second one down.
We haven't
Oh,
we
my
haven't
gosh.
we haven't compared them yet. We haven't gotten them out side by side. So
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know which one's bigger. Golly, these people. Oh, I can't help it. I'm so adolescent. Who named that, by the way?
probably the people who
It was
developed it.
somebody should have talked to them about that.
The logo is a woodpecker.
Well, I get that, but anyway, it doesn't make clicking noises.
If it does, you have a
The laser
problem.
behind Steve looks like a dark side version of the MK2. I mean, it's very similar in many ways. It is a Atom Stack A24 24 watt. It shares many of the same characteristics as the MK2. It is slightly smaller, and out of the box, it does not jig with the honeycomb out of the box. But with hang on. With a little bit of engineering and some clack shack cut pieces, we have made this Atom Stack A24. The honeycomb does work as a jig now, and it's completely stationary. It can't move. I mean, it's a good machine. I like them. We ran mine at May's event Saturday, and it runs great. The camera works good. I mean, I didn't calibrate mine yet, but it's a good little machine, and they're relatively inexpensive. But once you start adding parts to them, it kind of adds up. But if you have a limited work area, it would, it might have that might be an advantage you're looking for. So, yeah, Nancy. When they asked me if I wanted to try out the conveyor for the P2, I told them I would never use it because my shop is too small, and where I have to put the P2, it would just mess up my whole like travel lanes and all that through the shop. So it's not something that I would be interested in. Steve has it, but I don't think he's used it a whole lot yet.
It's still in the box. And that's the whole problem is I've got to basically find time to move a lot of things around in my shop to get it set up right. And then it's going to be, like you say, it's going to be in the way. And I've got a little more space to work with in my area, but it's just, it's so hard to commit to that space. And yeah, disassembling and reassembling it's not
Yeah.
it's not a quick and easy thing to do necessarily. So it's a little, and then you got to store all the parts and such. So it's really, you got to have, if you're constantly doing like long door
Yeah, if you were
kind of
engraving
things,
surfboards every day, maybe, or something.
something where you needed that,
Yeah.
it might make sense. But as a one-off, I don't know. And I've seen
Yeah.
a few other conveyors options come out for other lasers, and when I first looked at getting a CNC machine, there's this thing called the flat printer, and it was really meant for feeding sheets of foam through, because I was looking at it for my model airplane hobby, and I knew a couple people that had them, and they were okay. But the thing that appealed to me was it was inexpensive and it was something easy to use. But I was quickly talked out of it because that conveyor action, that feeding back and forth, is just another layer of an area for errors to
It's
be
just
introduced.
another potential point of
Yeah,
failure.
it's another point of failure and such. And so,
Yeah.
it's. I'm not saying it's bad or that it doesn't work well, because I haven't used the one, but I think it's you're going to need to have that purpose use quite often to find it something that you want to deal with.
Mark says you can only keep one laser in the shack. Which one is staying? You know the answer to that. Which one? Which one do you think it would be? If I had to throw them all away but one.
Right now, it's going to be the X40.
Yep. because the X40 can do basically everything the other ones can do, except for it can't cut half inch material. But my X40, well, I mean, it could.
You could, but it's not
just
as
gonna be
fast.
slow.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had to toss everybody else out, yeah, the X40 would be the keeper. But that's because I make a good majority of the money that comes into my building is made from signs for. Just like I've got two of them that we got to make this week. I've got two signs for my. I've got a lady that does balloon arches and photo backdrops, and that's what she does. And so I do text like, she said yes, or it's a boy, it's a girl, congratulations, happy birthday. I'm working on one for a couple of athletic teams now. I make these big signs that are, 36 inches. Like each word is like 36 inches long. And I do a lot of those. I do my stove covers. I do a lot of projects that I have to have around 36-inch work area. And so, yeah, at this point, I would toss everything. My Enclosurezilla is that is my enclosure. There it is right there, the sleeping giant, because I got the lights turned off. But that Enclosurezilla is my go-to for most everything. The only time that I really don't use it is if I just, if it's a quick job or if it's something that needs a whole lot of like real fine detail, or if I got multiple jobs going, I'll bring the others in. But this machine works more. I use this machine every single day. Like there's not a day that I come out here I don't burn something on my X40 Max. But it's because of the work area size and because of the jobs that I take in. Because I got a lot of folks in my area that have glow forges or that have D1s or tours or whatever. I got a lot of folks in my area that have a 400 by 400 or they have a glow forge, and they gobble up a lot of the jobs because they have those machines. But when somebody says, hey, who can do me some 30 something inch letters? They're like, oh, my machine's not big enough. You'll have to go talk to the clack shack. And so that's the market that I'm in. That's where I fail. You saw just last week, I had people, the local trophy shop, they've got a Thunder. It's a nice machine, but he couldn't do baseball bats. So I got an order to do 15 baseball bats because they can't fit baseball bats in their machine. And it's not if this machine tears up today and blows up, I mean, yes, I know an X40 is not cheap, but it's also not $11,000. Mm-hmm. So, I can replace it without having to go get a mortgage. So it's all in what you want. It's all in what you have the work to support. Don't out laser your business.
So along that lines, Nancy's asking, what's your opinion on Monport 80-watt autofocus? How difficult and cost-wise is it worth? Now, you have a friend who has the 60-watt
He has the 60-watt with autofocus.
Which is about the same frame.
Yes.
The 80-watt has a longer extension
you can get
on the tube.
That, you can get that particular machine, I think, comes from a 60 all the way up to 100.
Yep.
And I was impressed. I'm not going to lie. For the price, what he told me he paid for the machine, I was impressed with the machine.
Yeah, I mean,
now it's LightBurn, like basic LightBurn, like functionality. No bells and whistles. It ain't got 3 cameras in it and all that. It did have a camera, but it's a no frills machine.
Yeah.
But for what he paid for it, the size of the work area, automatic Z, all of that, it wasn't a bad machine. That's what I told you. He changed my mind about Monport machines. Been able to help train him on his.
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't judge a company too harshly on any other, like the K40 variants. That's a very basic entry-level machine. You're going to get some basic tech support. You're probably not going to get the premium support that you might from Aeon or Thunder or some of the slightly more expensive ones. But you're getting a lot of laser for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you're getting that CO2. Now it's going to take up some space.
Yeah, I mean, I will say his looked less like a spaceship and more like a refrigerator.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? Where the stepper is, it wouldn't be that hard to get to adjust. The mirrors, the way some of these mirrors go in can be a little finicky, but if you do things right, you keep things tight, you don't go messing with stuff, you rarely have to adjust those. We took his machine and like I said, he was having some problems, not with the machine, but with LightBurn, his configuration. Using the automatic focus and all that, he didn't have it set to relative, and there was a lot of just little settings in LightBurn that some of the documentation did not explain good enough for him to understand it. So he had basically got frustrated and called me and was like, "Hey, can you please come help me hook this up?"
Yeah.
And I had never messed with one of those Mon ports, and I told him, I was like, "I've never worked on one of those machines, but I feel like my experience in LightBurn, I'll be able to figure it out." And we did, and he's cranking out some nice projects with that machine. And it was running some crazy speeds. And he's got the 60, but the 60 watt. The only difference between the 60, the 80, and the 100, I think, is the tubes and power supplies and the internals. The frame is basically the same. Oh yeah. See, there you go. Aeon is expensive. Mira 9 maxed out $30,000. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Well, I mean, it is expensive, and so but they're going after market. But you know, maxed out, you're getting an RF tube. A lot of their parts are made within North America. A lot in the U.S. It's assembled in the U.S. You're getting U.S. support, and you're going to pay for that. You know, so I'm not saying it's justified or not. It from the recent media we've seen on it, it looks like a nice machine. But yeah, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay for it.
It looks sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not lying. It looks sweet. And then some of those speeds are just crazy. But you know, hey, there again, I'm pretty sure that there's probably a Mercedes Benz something or other that rides better than that F-150 I drive. I'm sure there is. I'm pretty positive. But it ain't in the budget, guys. So if it ain't in the budget, it ain't getting set into my driveway. Same thing with machines goes. If you have the jobs coming in, the time to devote to production to offset the cost, and that's what you want, go for it. But if you're planning on borrowing this money in hopes that you're going to find a market and you're going to be able to sell stuff and you're going to be able to make all this money, have a plan B, please.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's risky.
And the other thing with some of those is you're often going to get your delivery may be from the company themselves. They may in some of these higher end lasers, they're going to have someone assigned, maybe remotely, or if you pay a little extra, they may be on site. So a lot of that is paying for that support as well. So if you're in business and you're doing this well and you have to have that machine running and that's your only machine, you better have a plan for your backup, whether it's spare parts in your knowledge or a spare machine, or you've got a rock solid agreement with that manufacturer that
you got like a 24-hour response for
they're
service
going to
tech
next
or
day
something.
parts out and get you running.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you have to weigh in that business and such. But that's sometimes what you pay for when you're getting these nicer machines. You know.
And if that's something you gotta have, then you probably gonna want to get one of those.
Yeah.
ET, I haven't used the We Create since they've changed it. I got tired of waiting, and I had a buddy of mine who was brand new to lasers, who had never used a laser, and so he saw the We Create and was like, "Hey, I'd like to try that one out, see if I can learn it." And since he'd never used LightBurn, he actually likes the thing, and he's using it. But he wanted something he could run inside his house, and so it's currently not here in the shack, so I haven't been able to test how functional it is. I heard through the grapevine that there is still got some bugs with the software.
I've been paying attention to it. I still have mine. I haven't gotten the chance to update it and test it out. But I've been kind of paying attention to the forums, and you got to take that with a grain of salt. You know, you hear mostly from the people who are having problems, but I noticed some people were upgrading their firmware, still trying to use the We Create software and running into some issues, and others were struggling with the update. So, you know, often with a big change like that, you're going to have some growing pains. I'm hoping that after I get back and get caught up, you know, maybe in a few weeks I'll be able to run that, and because that was one of my big disappointments with it. I really wanted to run the LightBurn software with it and not have to export and really have the full control of it that you get with that. So I'd like to give it a shot again, try that out, but you know, I'm gonna maybe let them get, you know, version whatever 0.2 out.
Yeah, get through with the new beta
and give that a shot.
Belly Goat. There's a lot of companies out there that make like standalone modules for DIY stuff. If the thing about it is for most of the modules, especially the newer ones, like for the A70 and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to just purchase necessarily just the module and have the autofocus. You're going to have the controller to go with it, as well as power supplies and stuff like that. And so you're going to need to find somebody who sells basically a standalone module with the power supply that is going to be compatible with whatever you're trying to put together. A lot of times, I'm gonna be honest with you, I looked into that with my sawmill. I looked at making my own sawmill instead of buying one already put together. But by the time I did the calculations on material costs, time invested, engineering, re-engineering when something didn't work, I made the choice to buy a sawmill that was already put together and tested. So a lot of times that's what you're going to run into is if you try using miscellaneous parts, you're going to run into compatibility, mounting issues and that type of thing. But I know JTech Photonics sells a lot of laser module kits, and they have a range of different power outputs. And their kits are made to be either DIY CNC'd or added on to a spindle CNC or whatever. So that might be a good place to look, would be at JTech. They support the Onefinity machines as well as
I think they've got
some of the other ones, Shape Ocos and some of that. So some of those kits would work really well if you had your own, driver set up and controller set up already.
That being said, they might not be the cheapest. For the price of some of those, you can also gut another one. So maybe
Yeah.
Whether you find someone who's upgrading theirs, if you feel like a 20 watt is fine.
If you can run around, if you can run around and find if you can find a busted up, 40 watt or 30 watt atom stack, those machines are pretty solid to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. Burn Carve Print says we're getting really good with the green screen. It looks like we're in the same room.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? But we are in the same room. I would just reach over and knock his hat off his head to show you, but I'm not gonna poke him in the eye. That wouldn't be very nice of me. There he goes.
I've got the stick.
He's actually got my Steve on a stick. So, Mark, do you have a CNC? Because this is a conversation that we've been having this week as well. I am about to take my small enclosure, which when I say small enclosure though, I mean the enclosure that houses my A70 Pro. I'm fixing to design a CNC file so that basically if you have a CNC with a, like say if you have any of the 2 foot by 4 foot machines, you would be able to download this file with the appropriate size plywood. You could cut out all the parts, cut the recess out, order the JTech Photonics glass, drop it in there, add the hardware, and have an enclosure. So that's going to be my next venture is trying to build that file for an enclosure similar to the one that I've got. It's going to take me a while, I'm sure, because I got so much other stuff going on. But no, you wouldn't want me to build it and try to ship it, Mark. These things are heavy. Mine's made out of 3/4 inch birch, and although it does a good job of keeping down the noise and protecting you, it is very, very heavy. Illusion Custom Design says, I am wanting to make big layered wall art pieces. 3D printing is expensive, but woodworking and lasers, oh my God, I'm not trained enough to run a CNC. Would like to get into that too. Lasers are a good place to start. But if you get into lasers and you have the slightest thought that you might want a CNC one day, you probably will end up getting a CNC one day. Let's see. Good Lord, I'm behind in the comments. Are you checking these?
I am. I'm also trying to kick someone out. That's
Uh-oh.
not being appropriate.
We got one needing a boot.
Yep. But what else we got here? Here's one. Will the F1 paired with a rotary be a good choice for doing powder coated tumblers, or would there be a better option like the size and portability so engraving at shows would be nice? If you're looking to engrave at shows, the F1 is really proving to be very versatile at that.
Oh yeah.
And for doing powder coated tumblers, I think having both the blue diode and the IR diode in there gives you a little more flexibility in it. The rotary on that one, my only thing with that is I wish it was a better way for it to quickly swap in. You'd probably want to make a fixture for it. So you'll make
Yeah.
something that's gonna lock into. They've got that punch out that you can maybe make a fixture and then set your rotary in, so you don't have to do too much alignment when swapping between that and the other. That would be my only concern on that, is making sure you could get that dropped in and aligned. So a little work on the front end of creating something there would be great.
You know, if somebody was actually creating jigs for the F1 already, you think they could?
Yeah, they should
They
maybe
could
come out with
probably make
something.
one that would hold the chuck. But yeah, that's something that I've been doing this week as well. Is basically I've created myself some little drop-in jigs that drop into this little hole right here. Now the catch is, because of the size of them, they have to be cut on another machine. But they work. We used them at the show. You've used them last night, and they work. So working on doing that. But for now, it's still a work in progress. So what's going on with the dude? I missed it.
It was on my channel.
Oh, is it on yours?
Yeah.
I missed that. I hate that. I was scrolling late. Somebody's asking about the air filter system for the F1 with slide. Can you recommend air filter system for F1 with slide extension?
No. It's the problem with most of those air filter systems is they're just too small. And then they get plugged up too quick and they don't move the air. And then if you have the slide extension on it, it's just not powerful enough in that small fan in the back to really, a lot of the stuff's going to go outside that. You'd almost need to have the F1 inside a bigger enclosure, and I just don't know a good solution for that.
You would have to probably like put it in a tin or something, one of those tin enclosures or something. I mean, it would be. That is there again. That's one of the things about the smaller machines. You start adding things to them. The underlying infrastructure, i.e. the fan, wasn't intended for that purpose. So it's gonna have some shortfalls when you start doing stuff like that. North Alabama, for some reason, X-Tool changed the spacing on the D1s after about the first 6 months. They moved the legs. And then even after that, they were terribly inconsistent in leg placement for some reason. I don't know if they kept changing out their machinery at the factory or what, but yes, there's a couple of different variations. They have two different size leg holes. One's like 26.4, one's like 26.2 millimeters or something like that. There's two different size legs, and there's also two different size leg spacing that was brought to my attention for the X-Tool D1s. I built the file for my machine, but then after getting multiple contacts from people saying, hey, mine are this size, I then realized that X-Tool had changed not only the size of the legs, but the spacing of the legs from model to model. And occasionally they would throw the legs for this machine in the box with the machine that had this leg spacing. So you have to do a lot of measurement to know for sure which file you need to use, but I do have multiple files in that folder that can be selected from to whatever, 69, 79, 89 Cadillac you may have. Because that's the way it is sometimes with those machines. It's like they had a big box of legs and they would just pick random legs out and stick on a D1. Lone Star adhesive leatherette. No, I haven't. Steve's used more leatherette than I have. You've got some on your hat now.
Yeah. This is more of the leatherette I think you get from JDS Industries. Mm-hmm. I've gotten some. It's the same type of material. Like X-Tool sells a version of it, and then I have from Great Carve. They have their leatherette stuff as well, and they are, but they don't have the adhesive back. It's actually more of like a felt back, and so they all engrave pretty well on everything. I've tried it from everything on a 5-watt on up to. I've done some on the X-Tool S140 watt. I haven't, you get into higher power. It doesn't take a lot of power to burn these off. So when you're getting into the higher power ones, they're a little bit trickier to get dial in the range. Cause usually I'm around 20-ish% in power. And it works pretty well. I to apply them, I actually have a heat press, or just a Viver heat press that I've used, and it works okay. I sometimes have to finagle the mount a little bit to get the right support, but I've been using these and wearing these hats for about the past year with that JDS stuff, and it's worked pretty well. I haven't tried some of the Lone Star stuff yet to see how it might or may not be different, but as far as just in general, that two-tone leather that's made for them, it's worked pretty well for me, and I haven't had a lot of problems with it coming off with just the stock adhesives on any of them that I've tried.
Oh, I see what y'all are talking about. This guy now.
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah. Hey, I can drop a
Public
pin,
so-
bro. I'll drop you a pin. You can come. We can come party. You won't like it. I love it when people try to pick a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lasers are the gateway drugs to CNCs. I did the reverse.
Yeah, you came from CNC.
Yeah,
into laser.
I first started with CNCs and then got into lasers. But yeah, for a lot of people, it's easier to get into the desktop lasers. You know, you're seeing some of the 5 watts now under $300, and then it's easier to jump into a higher wattage one, and then some of these nasty channels start showing you some of the cool projects you can make with them, and then you start wanting to get a CNC machine as well. But
Well, you like peer pressured me into getting a
there was
CNC.
no peer pressure. It was
Oh,
just
it was lots of peer
gentle
pressure.
encouragement.
There's lots of peer pressure.
Gentle encouragement.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we probably need to give us. We probably need to, like, I don't know, get like a code word for when we have trolls in the room. But yeah, AGT. We took care of that. By the way, he got him out of there. I was busy answering questions. I didn't even see it. What?
Yeah, we got another one.
We got, what in the world is oh my goodness. You got that one?
Yup.
What is it tonight, guys? Is it Halloween already?
I don't know. Some people.
They're coming in from Steve's channel.
Some people need a new hobby.
Just for the record, they're coming into Steve's channel. Let me go ahead and hit that one on my end too. Well, but the good news is the profanity filter's working, because so far they've had to use, like,
Getting
middle
creative.
middle school words.
Yeah. I'll have to try to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Oh well, he's gone. It just, it takes us a minute to see them. Let's see what we got here. And of course, he'll probably be back in a minute with a different username.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question for you. Stephen Rossman is asking, been trying to save our logo into the LightBurn art library, but haven't had any luck. Able to do a demo on that?
Steven, yeah. Let me get my LightBurn thrown up here. Yeah, I don't get as many trolls, because I will, and you can ask Steve and my wife, and they both think I'm crazy, but I'll drop you a pin. Like, I'll give you my coordinates, and it does not bother me. People misinterpret the fact that I'm a nice guy. I'll do anything I can for you, but there's a side of me that I just, I don't put up with that. I'll show you. You can come visit with me. We'll sit down, talk about it, and we can work it out and whatever. But there's no sense in that. I'm a live and let live kind of guy. But it happens. Matter of fact, me and Steve were in town earlier, and I ran into a gentleman that I have a long history with. Me and him have had many conversations on the way to a detention center, and at first I didn't know how it was going to go, but he was very cordial and nice, and hey, how are you? And it all went well. But anyway, so adding things to the library, is that the topic that we want to go over? So we can go down here. I'm going to drop the comment off of the screen, but we're going to go down to the screen so I can maybe show y'all what we're doing here. So to add any graphic to your library, and I'll import something that I do not have currently in my library. This is a design that I'm working on for a project, And this is actually a screenshot that I took and sent to the customer. So what I'll do is I'll just trace this image just to give you an idea. Once I trace it, now it is actually a design object, and it can be added to the library. First thing you're going to have to do, if you don't already have a library, is you're going to have to go up here and add new and create one. All right. I already have one created for testing and for text and for patriotic and most everything else. Once you create the library, then you would just go in here, click on this, make sure that library is selected. You're going to go over into the work area, wherever that file is, and basically just make sure it in its entirety is selected. And then there's this button right here, import graphic from project. And when you do that, then you're going to have to name it. And I'll name this one CCHS test. And then you hit OK. Once you do that, you're going to see some stuff move around. Delete that from the work area. And you'll notice that that file is now in the library. You can bring it out of the library in two different ways. You can drag it and drop it, or you can just double click it. Either way. If you want it in a particular location, I recommend drag and dropping. If you just want to bring it into the work area, double click it, works fine. Double clicking is going to bring it back into the same exact location in the center of the screen. So that's how you do it. It's that simple. And when you get ready to remove things from your library, you can click it, right click, and hit delete, or you can actually go down here and delete here. I prefer just right click and delete. But that's how I save a lot of my most common stuff that I use. I save in the art library just so it's easily accessible and I don't got to go hunting for it. So there you go. Hope that helps.
Yeah, it's just perfect. Thanks so much. Much appreciated. So
Yeah.
sounds like you got it for him.
Yeah, I use the library, as you can tell by my hoarding of libraries. I use libraries a lot. I've got a file design. I've got seasonals. I've got text. I've got geography, animals, patriotic, flags, Alabama, high schools, logos. I mean, I've got folders for most anything that I use, especially if it's a design element that I use in building files. It's easier to keep up with that stuff and just drag it and drop it into jobs as you need them. So, Kevin says that we're making him want to retire his D1. It's been a year. Other than the cleaning and the lens, what else should he check? If it's still working good, just keep her good and clean and lubricated with the steel rails with some ping shing, and you should be okay. My original D1 that I bought way back when still works. Now it's a 10-watt, no limit switch diode, but it still functions. It's actually right over there. I'm gonna mount it on the wall and kind of like make a little plaque for it because it was my first ever laser.
I mean, but the only other thing is, maybe make sure the module itself is cleaned out. Get some compressed air through there or something.
AGT said he missed how to open the library, so we're going to cover that right quick.
All right.
All right. If you don't have the library visible on your instance of LightBurn, this is how you get it. So let me show you down here. So up here on the top where it says window, if your library is, let's say you don't have that library, the library is missing, it's not there on your LightBurn window, go up here to window and then go down here until you see art library and just click that. That'll open up this window. Now you won't have all of these until you create them. You're going to have to add, create a new art library, name it, and then start putting stuff in there. These don't just magically fill themselves up. So that's how you remove, you hide and open the art library is up through here by the windows. So there you go. Maybe we got it all cleared up now. Should be good now. Uh-oh, I lost my screen. There we go. Ping Shane. I got some of it right here. Well, no, I don't. I moved it. It's what's on the, it's a joke, guys. It's what's on all of the lubrication. Apparently it means something to do with lubricant, but it's on all of the little grease things that come with X tools. It always says Ping Shing.
It looks like a miniature toothpaste tube.
Yeah, it looks like toothpaste. But
I don't recommend it.
It's not. It's some kind of lithium-based grease of some type.
Liam's asking with the S1 40 watt, could I engrave metal cards? Been wanting to get into metal cards.
Coated.
Yeah, as long as it's anodized or coated. Or if you got stainless steel, it could mark it.
Yeah,
It's gonna anneal it to a different color.
it's not going to be really impressive.
But
But yeah,
your other option then with metal and the blue diode, especially at the 40 watt powers, you can get yourself some Surmark spray and do that as well. You're gonna want to run some tests because 40 watts and you're gonna want to run tests on different colors. So your black cards versus your blue versus your red, they're all gonna have slightly different power levels that's needed because you just want to blast away the coating or the anodization. If you apply too much heat, it's going to start curling those cards up and deforming them. So you definitely want to test each color as you do it. But it's definitely doable. As a matter of fact, as we were playing with our jigs in the F1s last night, we were switching between IR and blue diode to see which level worked well on there.
yes.
So yeah, with the 40 watt, that's more than enough power on to do most of the colors.
Yeah, if you're doing it like especially black anodized business cards, the 40 watt S1 does a really good job on those. You will need to, and that's what me and Steve were talking about last night. Is people a lot of times are asking us, hey, what are your settings you use for this, and what are your settings you use for that? And the correct answer is the best settings that we can find through our extensive testing that we do. Because we sat here last night and threw away, I know he probably threw away 10 or 15 dog tags, and I did the same thing because we were testing, okay, I'm going to try this speed and power on blue, and then I'm going to compare the results to that on IR, and then we're going to try this LPI, and we're going to go this insanely fast to this insanely slow. And then all of a sudden, we come up with just the right combo, and it's like, wow, look at the contrast in color we got. But that was after we had went through probably 10 or 15 dog tags that we were just wasting. But it's not wasting as long as you document your findings. That's when it's not wasting. It's research.
Yep.
So, but it takes a lot of it sometimes to get just the right settings.
Yeah, and then when you find it, try to lock in lock in your settings, but also make sure you can restock on those same cards because we've found blue cards from his supplier to wherever I got them. We're getting slightly different results at different power settings. So. Buddy's coming?
Did you call
him? Well, I have been claiming I've been held hostage here.
No, don't worry. All the guys on the SWAT team around here done said if they get caught here, they're not coming. They're going to let the state come. So you're good. All the guys on my old team and on the team now are like, no, we're just going to let them call the state. We're not coming. Let's see here. Did I miss Steve enjoying a big plate of gizzards or livers? Not yet. We haven't got him that far yet. He did have a hot hamburger.
I did.
He voluntarily had a hot hamburger, and he didn't leave any of it, so I'm guessing it was pretty good.
Yeah. So, what was the name of the place? The Flying
Peach.
Flying Peach. It was kind of funny because Brandy was kind enough to go get us food, and there was this is one of the places where they only cook so much. So when they're out, they're out, right?
Yeah.
So I think we both asked for a side of coleslaw, and they dished mine out, and then they told her like, well, we didn't really have enough for a full serving, so we're gonna give you an extra bag of chips or something. And I'm like, I open it up, I'm like, the thing is full, like this is beyond a healthy portion.
Yeah. Steve said he was expecting smaller portion size, but yeah. Go. Well, yeah, Liam. Like I said, there are different cards have different results. If you're going to be doing them with a diode, I would strongly recommend you stick with black with silver background. But you can do other cards. The lighter colors with a diode is going to be more of a challenge. But you can do some. You can find some cool colors and stuff like that, even with a diode. But it's going to require a lot of testing. So be patient and just test. But yeah, I got a multicolor color pack of cards. The other 9 colors did awesome. Silver, yeah, silver cards are probably going to be a no go with a diode. Like I said, because those are anodized aluminum, and diodes will not touch aluminum. Now, am I going to say you can't get it hot enough to make it warp? Yes. But as far as any kind of distinguishable markings or anything, you're not going to do a lot with aluminum with a diode. Uh,
There's one from Sketchit. Do you ever open AI files in LightBurn? If so, have you had any issues with it stopping mid-burn since the latest update?
we actually, I've had some. There's been some finicky things happening with some designs recently, but I don't know that it's necessarily got anything to do with AI files. I have had a couple of files that I've run across that had errors in the G code, and it took some doing to fix them because they would stop at the exact same spot in a file every single time. And I don't know exactly what the cause of it is, but yeah, we actually had a little bit of experience with that today, and it was just this one file, this one location, and it kind of gave me a little bit of a problem. So I don't know if it's something in the way it's parsing out the G code, or if it's like certain features throwing it for a loop or what. But
So when I'm working with Adobe Illustrator files, I often will convert everything to pathing first because you can have issues with text not, if it doesn't understand the font or it doesn't read it right. But so I often will export it from there either as a DXF or an SVG and then import it, and not just the straight Illustrator file. Just because even prior to this update, I just kind of run into some weird abnormalities with it. It seems to do it better when it's just in more of just a straight vector rather than the full-on Illustrator file.
yeah, I mean those Illustrator files a lot of times are basically solid shapes overlapping each other, and it just it can create its own set of issues when you're trying to modify. Oh, for sure. Burn carve print for shows. Did you make your own air filter? I think I saw a Comgrow one at some point. Yeah, I'm still using the Comgrow air filter. Now, I use the term filter loosely because it will filter out some debris and stuff, but the cartridges in those things go through pretty fast. Most of the stuff that I do, I'm always outdoors. I'm never inside. So basically, I am using it as a smoke suppressor more than a filter. I just want it to, tone it down a little bit. Matter of fact, it's time for me to throw the filter that's in there now. It's time to be thrown away. We used it this past weekend, and it was getting to where it was not very effective. The cartridges for the Comgrow, I bought a couple of boxes of them when I first got the filter, but since then they've gotten a little hard to come by. So I am looking at either trying to find something that is cross compatible, or maybe coming up with my own way of creating filters for it to use. Just because, like I said, I'm always outdoor, and I just want to reduce the level of smoke, not necessarily get rid of it completely. Because sometimes the smell of the smoke's what draws them in. The smell of wood burning is what draws them into the booth.
A
Michael,
possible option on that before you jump away from that. I looked into this because I've been playing around with the X-Tool air filter to see how it would work, and it's usually that top foam layer that gets plugged up early. There is a place called filterby.com which will do various types of filters in custom sizes. So it might be something that you can either get a bigger one and cut it down, or you could check. So if you're in that situation, you have a filter like that, there are a few places that will make some custom filters for you, because I know, direct from some of the manufacturers, they're not cheap. Interesting fact is I did find that the filter packs for the We Create fit exactly into the X-Tool, and they sell them individually in parts. X-Tool just sells it as a pack, and
Cool.
you can't just get the top foam one separate from the other two. Yeah. So there are some options out there to maybe get some if you have an existing one. But again, I use those sparingly, like at shows, to help cut it down. I still try to limit when I'm cutting in any sort of indoor environment, unless they are very clear on, yes, we're fine with that, no problem. Because even outside yesterday at Maymay's, it was putting out some smoke.
Yeah, it got to churning it out pretty good that one time. Michael, the 70 watt compared to the 40 watt, the 70 watt is dropping the Luan that I run it's dropping it consistently. Now I can stretch it all the way up to 37, 38 millimeters a second, but there's the potential for having those dead spots and those hard spots or whatever. But safely, I can run 30 millimeters a second and cut quarter inch material on the 70. My safe speed on the 40 that I use to make sure I get clean drops every single cut is around 12. So 12 millimeters per second on the 40 versus 30 millimeters a second on the 70. Like I said, I can go up to 37 or 38 on the 70, but if I hit one of those little tough spots, it wants to give me a little bit of a hang. So yeah, the 70 is almost twice as fast as the 40 as far as cut speeds, and if I really wanted to push it, it probably is more than twice as fast. It is a cutting beast. Like my P2 cannot keep up with this 70 watt. My P2 cuts the same material at around 20, and I'm cutting it on the A40 at 30. The P2 usually runs around 20 to 22. So yeah, it's it's a whole nother animal when it comes to cutting. I haven't done a lot of really detailed engraving with it, mostly just text. Most of what I do is vectors these days anyway, but it still has the speed to do engraving really really fast. Especially if you're trying to do something like an inlay, you're wanting to do like an epoxy inlay. With this 70 watt, you can dig a millimeter deep in an engrave and still run 400 millimeters a second, which is just crazy. What you got? I know you're saying something.
David Wynn, I think it's Wynn. Cutting 3 millimeter birch. Which enclosed diode would you recommend? S1 or Rolly? Like to get a second machine, retire the D120 watt Pro to be a backup. Looks like the fact jigs would be easier with the Rolly. That is easier. Is a good
Yeah, it's similar.
fair assessment. The difference is, S1 you got a little wider working area.
Yeah.
You don't have a camera, but they released the weird
the
option.
The pin is really very
The
accurate.
pin positioning is very accurate. Well, the pin probing is accurate, but the laser pointer positioning, you can do just straight squares, you can do circles, and it is fairly accurate, which is nice. And then they recently released those little circle dot things you can use an external camera and kind of get with. But I haven't played with that.
The S1. My experience with the S1 is, yes, I like having a camera, but with the S1, once you get used to using their 2 point system and all, it's not a requirement. It makes it much easier. But it is, if you're used to having a camera, it is a bit of a shell shock. It was for me for a while there.
And I've never, coming from my CO2 days where I could have added a camera but never got around to it. I got used to all the framing techniques and positioning through, so it's never been as much of a must-have for me.
Yeah.
And that's where I actually really like the positioning on the S1.
Well, one of the things that I like too is I like to be able to take the engrave and kind of visually in my mind see what it's going to look like on the piece as far as location, color, and all that. And so I mean, cameras have their advantage, but as far as the two machines, speed and power wise, of course, the S1 is going to be a little bit. I don't know about faster. It's going to have a little more power. The 40 watt does have a little more power than the 30, but if you're doing smaller stuff, it's probably not going to be that noticeable in the grand scheme of things, because it's not going to be that big of a variation, because the MK2 does cut, I'm going to say at about, I think I was running 12 or 13 millimeters a second on the stuff that I cut the most, which is really fast. I mean, it's cutting it close to what I run my 40 watt at. So the MK2 is not a slouch, but at the same time, it's still a 40 watt with the other machine, and the work area is about a good 10 inches wider.
Yeah,
it's close
nice
to 10
and
inches wider. So I mean, it all comes down to work area requirement. That's a big consideration for any machine, is what are you planning on making, and how big is it going to be? I mean, because those are going to be considerations that you're going to need to make.
Now you can use the air assist option on the S1 is still an add-on. It doesn't
Yeah.
come default with their Smart Air Assist. I do like their Smart Air Assist because
Yeah.
you can turn it into auto and you do have some control. It's kind of a blanket parameter you set, so when you're cutting it, put it at full, and then you can tell
Yeah,
it
and you
when
can tell it
engraving.
engraving. You can run 25%,
Yeah.
30%.
So it's not necessarily per layer; it's per mode. But you can adjust those, and then it of course has the smart on and off with it as well. But it is kind of an add-on thing. Now you could still use the pump from your D1 and just use it as is, manually turn it on and off. But the Smart Assist is really nice to get with that. But it is a caveat that it's an add-on and not included.
Yeah. Daniel, I've had the same problem. And what I do with stuff that's silver, that's in there with all the colored ones for my diode machine, is I take them out and I put them in a bag like this to use with my fiber, because that's the only way you can mark these. So any of the silver stuff that is not coated like this, these are aluminum. Aluminum, you're not going to be able to do anything with a diode on that. Now, if you get silver, say, like these little stainless steel pet tags that are stainless, those you can actually mark with a diode. You're not going to get as good a contrast as you could with say a fiber. But yeah, the silver stuff, just go ahead and, like I said, if you're doing it with a diode machine, you're not going to be able to do anything with those. You can do a little bit with the 1064 nanometers, the IR module, but that's why all this stuff in here, a lot of this stuff is just the silver stuff that I've taken out from the diode machines. So, and it just lives over here in this drawer, and I use it with the fiber or one of the IR modules. But yeah. Oh. Yeah, Gene. There's been some changes lately, and there's been some things that people have been talking about. But I mean, LightBurn's a good product, and if there are any problems, I'm sure they'll be addressing them shortly. I've never really seen a problem last very long, if there was one. Well, we appreciate that, AGT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to talk Steve into coming down like every weekend, but that 1,100 miles just kind of dampens his spirits.
Yeah. Maybe if someone gets on that Star Trek teleporter technology, but I'm not sure I'd be comfortable. I'd be a little bit like the Doctor on there. I'm like, you're not spreading my atoms across the universe.
Yeah. And I'm not sure which one of us he's referring to or whatever, or what this is referring to, but Donnie says he appreciates your help the other day. Wife is happy now. Or somebody's help. I don't know if it's me, you, don't know, but glad she's happy, Donnie. A happy wife, happy life. That's the way it works out, right? Michael says, "Wow, must have been talking about how awesome I'm looking today."
I'm sure.
Yeah, it had to be.
That's right where I was going for.
Need to order some Liz's for his Adam stack. Better wait a week or two to Steve be back to send them out. No, guys, he's making his wife do his work while he's gone.
I don't know about making.
Well,
but,
she's being very nice to him and helping him out by doing some of his work.
Helping me fulfill orders that come in. So that they don't. I didn't have to take them offline, and people could still get them out.
Put your shop in vacation mode like mine got done accidentally.
But no, she helps me out on that. So they'll still go out if you need them this week, and they'll try to get shipped within. Now it might not be quite as quick because some of the days I'm working at home, I see the order come in, I still get it packaged up right away and hand it off to the mailman that day if I'm there. But
yeah, but y'all can know that Steve will get to him eventually. Jeremy, like I said, I like the P2 camera system. The more I use it, the better I like it. But I like a camera because I'm a visual designer.
in the P2 camera, there are some quirks to it. You got to use the close mode, but you really have to make sure that you you either do your autofocus or set your material depth. Yes. If you're trying to use the camera before it knows the depth of your material, it'll still be skewed off. So that's one little thing that'll help get it dialed in a little bit closer.
Uh, ET's asking what brand of camera does LaserMatic use for the short height to be above the full bed view? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the people from LaserMatic, the people from Adam Stack, and the people from all these other different companies that are now putting cameras in enclosures have all watched the Clack Shack, because they're using the same camera that I've been using in my enclosure builds for about 2 years, from what I can tell. If it's not the same exact camera, it is its first cousin, because I have actually popped the covers off and looked at the boards of these cameras. And if you're not careful, you can actually pop that one there off really easy. But if you look at those cameras, and now that Steve is sitting here, I just so happen to have one that I took out of an enclosure, my portable enclosure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I took the camera out of it the other day and have it available for recycling to be put somewhere else. And that's the camera that I use. All right. Oh, caught it with my foot. Caught it with my foot. That's the reflexes of a cat right there, guy. But look at the. I mean, it's not exactly, but it's very close. It is a fisheye camera, board cam, with what looks to me to be the same angle lens. And if you look in this one right here, I mean, it's very, very similar. I'm not sure that this one isn't exactly the same camera, but yeah, it's if it's not the exact same camera, it's probably not the same manufacturer. But if you take this camera and you look at the holes in the board on that one and the holes in the board on this one, it's very similar. These are basically the ones I use are 8 megapixel cameras, and they're made to be used with Raspberry computers and PCs and stuff like that. It's just a board camera, and when you buy it, all you really get is the board with the cable and then the camera and everything on the lens. And these things work really well. I've got them in all of my enclosures that I build for myself, and I use the straight lens for like observation cameras, so that when I'm showing you guys one of my enclosures or something, and I use these for LightBurn, and they work great. And Klein uses these, and pretty much everybody that I've ever helped build an enclosure uses these, and they work great. So I love them.
Here's a quick follow up on that. Do you have a printed camera mount for that camera?
Yes, I actually have a 3D printed and a laser file one. The one that's over there in the, hang on, the one that's over in the enclosure is a 3D printed version that I made. Now, once you get it in there like you want it, I do recommend taking a couple of dots of CA glue to kind of secure it together once you get it clamped in there like you want it. But the fixture is adjustable to the roof, to the bottom, to the side, or whatever. And then the other ones that I have are just little wooden boxes that you can laser cut and mount to the top of your enclosure, which uses a couple of toothpicks as basically dowels to hold it together. Yeah, high speed, low drag dowels. So let me see if I can get my little camera here to work. It was working good the other day, so let's see if it'll work today. See if this works. If it does, I'll show you, because my other camera is not playing well today. Oh. Is it gonna work? Let's see. Maybe it will.
But as far as the distance for the short view, I mean, that really is the overall field of view of the camera. And LightBurn has a really good tool that you can input kind of your heights and such, and it'll make some recommendations, and it'll recommend some of their cameras you can buy, but it'll also give you kind of the specs you need to look for. So I would recommend using that tool if you have a custom setup, you're looking for one. And then, yeah, making the mount can be made pretty simple out of just a simple box
Yeah.
to hold in place and then secure your cable. The important thing is wherever you mount it, make sure that it's in a fairly static location.
You don't want it moving.
You don't want it moving. I mean, even on these lids, I you got to be careful. You move these things around too much, those lids are going to get moved a little bit. The hinges might get moved a little bit. You're gonna have to recalibrate it the more you're moving things. And so, anytime you can have it stationary and not on a lid is great. But on a lot of these enclosures, there's not a lot of choice because you gotta, they're short and they need to have access.
Yeah, my little camera's not want to work right. My little cell phone cam's not want to cooperate with me today. But yeah, I've got, like I said, in the enclosures, and I also have one that's cut out of acrylic. I forgot about that.
Yep.
But yeah, there's the inside of Enclosurezilla. That is the view from one of these cameras that I'm running right here. And if I could ever get my other little camera to work, I'll show you. But that is how well the picture quality is, and that is the observation camera that I've got in there. The other camera that I have inside the machine works for my LightBurn application, and we'll show you that too. And there it is, and I've got it to where you can turn the fade off. Well, with the closed LightBurn, but the closed LightBurn out. Hang on. Yeah, because it's for some reason, if I start the machine with the A70 on, it messes up my overlay. See? Now it fixed it. So I can turn the fade off, and literally with this camera, you can see, great detail. And keep in mind, guys, that is not your average, that's 400 by 850. So that's not a 400 by 400. That's 400 by 850. And that is also the same camera as that camera right there is. So it's I like them. They're very, very versatile cameras. So there you go.
So the question is the camera mount available in your Etsy shop?
Yes. I've got it in laser cut as well as 3D printable.
So yeah, 3D printed and laser cut. Find Clack Shack on Etsy and you'll be able to check out those files.
Like I said, the box is made to where you can mount it like upside down. You can mount it and then drill a hole through your enclosure and do it that way, depending on how you get it on there. It's pretty versatile. But yeah, I got them on there. I think it's just like a couple bucks each. It's nothing.
Chris has a recommendation for you there. Now that you bounced off your screen.
Recommendation for me?
Yeah, he says you should get an IT guy to get those cameras working for you.
An IT guy to get those. Well, the problem is we've been moving USB stuff around in here the past couple of days. That's the problem. I've been looking for a good IT guy, but I ain't found one yet. So, but now,
I told you they moved me to management for a reason.
This usually works, but I'm not sure why it's not. Wait a minute. Yeah, I do. I know exactly why it's not. It's because I got this. I got the Wi-Fi on here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Therein lies the problem. But yeah. I really like this little handheld camera when it works.
Hey, Cody, appreciate the support as well. We loved having you on a few weeks ago. And for those who don't know, Cody's the man behind Cadence Manufacturing and the Jenny Bits. We use that on the sign for May May and
the one we just threw across the road.
We cut out the platform for my A24 and such. So we're enjoying using them here in Clack's shop, and I've been using them for years. So definitely check them out. There's a link down to his site in both of our channels, and if you're using a CNC machine, definitely should be checking out his bits for your use.
No, I got my. This is my tumbler. That's my tumbler. Now Steve's got me blocked from my little mini fridge, so I hadn't been over there yet. But I do have a glass of tea. And guys, did y'all know Steve doesn't drink sweet tea? I mean, what's up with that? Like, I'm talking no sweet tea. Like, you're like, hey, Steve, want a glass of sweet tea? No. He has some other kind of tea.
I feel judged.
Some other kind of tea that's not very sweet.
I feel judged.
It's like green tea. It's like your tea's been sitting too long. It's turned green.
I have a couple different kinds.
But let's see.
So
Just hang on there. There we
So-
go, right there.
Daniel mentioned he posted his A12 Pro portable setup photos in the Facebook group, so I'm definitely gonna
Cool.
check those out. And if you're not familiar, we do have a Laser Engravers community group. It's kind of based off of, it grew out of this live stream for having a place for people to chat and share photos on their own and such. And so there's links down below to that. You can join that group. We also have our Laser Engraver community map, and there's links down to that as well. There's a form you can fill out if you want to drop your pin on there. You can use your business name, your online name, or no name, and then just drop the location. It doesn't need to be your street address. It can just be city, state, or city, country, and such. Anything that Google Maps can identify. We kind of use it because it's fun to see where all our users are, or like when I'm coming down here and we might be going somewhere, we kind of get the word out to say, hey, if you're in this area, we see there's some users there, let's try to have a meetup and such. So completely voluntary, no pressure on that, but it is kind of fun to see where everybody that is kind of watching our two channels or these live streams are at. And so if you want to, feel free to use those buttons and fill that out. Speaking of, I should probably check that for any updates.
Yeah. Mark, it's usually it's around with these cameras from the workspace, because it's a fisheye, the angle of the lens and everything. It's not as critical, but I usually try to get around 20 inches on the larger machines. You can get away with less on a 400 by 400, but with Enclosures Zilla, it's probably about 18 to 20 inches. It was probably 20, closer to 20 until I changed the mount. Now I'm probably about 18. But I could technically go lower, but when you go lower like that, the higher you can get the camera, the better. The lower you get, it starts getting a little hard to maintain, accuracy. My cameras are very accurate. I'm not going to say they're perfect, because I found very few LightBurn cameras are going to be perfect, but they're very accurate for what I use them for, and I don't have any complaints. So, Jeff, I haven't seen any discount codes for the A70 yet. Have you got any?
No, I haven't heard any specific discount codes since
yet.
it's kind of their first launch. It'd just be
Yeah.
kind of their normal price or their launch sale. They do have, I think if you go on their site, they have just some generic coupon codes that go towards anything. So like right now it's $20 off of 300 on up to $180 off of 2,000, but it's not any specific discount code. Occasionally they default, like the links they give us might give a automatic discount, but usually they let us give us a heads up that it's going to be this specific one. So
Yeah, we can go look and see. Maybe we might get lucky and find something with it. Darren wants to know when our next meetup in Australia is going to be.
Australia. Well, I would love to do that.
I would love to too. Maybe Chris could send us some tickets.
Yeah, if you could just send the
Get
private
with,
jet
yeah,
to,
get with Chris and
I mean, if he only wants to come, send it to one place, I'll make the drive back down here.
yeah. Well, I tell you what would be a good YouTube video is if we built a boat.
What?
And yeah, we could build a boat and then we a sail to Australia in that boat that we built.
It would be short.
You
You would see us going off into the distance, and then, well,
it would end up being a Dateline special. They were never seen again. once they launched from, I guess we'd have to launch from we'd probably be better off launching from down in Florida. That way we could kind of go down and over instead of having to go all the way around.
I would think California would be the easier one.
Well, California, yeah, but then you got to drive to California instead of just using our boat.
But You're either going through the canal or around the Cape Horn, and I'm thinking no.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a while. We'll have to work the logistics out on the trip to Australia. It's not looking like it's going to work out anytime soon. Uh, until we can figure out how to get past all those pirates in our rowboat. But yeah. Oh me. Yeah, 16 inches with a depending on the camera. That's not terrible. Uh, I've ran in my portable clack shack on a D1. I had that one at I think like 12 inches using that camera that I had in the drawer over there. The smaller the work area, the more forgiving uh, those cameras are. But you know, when you get to a certain size work area, if you get too close, it's kind of like that whole, you know, you start seeing the curvature of the earth type thing going on in there, and it can cause you some problems. Uh, but round and LightBurn. Greg, yeah, that is now. Here's what you need to do, Greg. Get yourself, if you don't already have one of those cloth measuring apparatuses. You know what I'm talking about. Measure from the edge of the graphic and roll it across to the other edge of the graphic. It's technically still a circle. It's just because the canvas is wrapped like that. When you look at it visually, it makes it look squished. That is what they call cylinder correction or cylinder distortion. And there's some tools in LightBurn that'll help you overcome that. And there's some good videos out there about how to go about it. But technically, you've got to think of it as like this. If you take a sheet of paper and you draw a circle on that sheet of paper, it'll look like a circle. But if you bend that sheet of paper and kind of make it into a tube, now your circle looks like it's taller than it is wide. But it's more of a visual effect than it is necessarily out of shape. But if for some reason the measurements are incorrect, then it could be the steps. But if you're using the MK2, the steps and everything should already be set up correctly if you downloaded the configuration. So more than likely, it's just going to be that cylinder illusion, so to speak, that you're having a problem with. But yeah. Oh, Chris said it'd be Gilligan's Island episode of the Shack. Hey, we could survive though. If we got trapped on an island, we could survive.
I, you know, I'm gonna give this idea a little more luck than us building and surviving a boat across there. And by that I mean, you know, a 0.01 fraction % more chance that we'd.
Oh, you think we'd be better? We would survive better on land than in the water.
No, I mean he wants me to build a huge RC plane and fly to Australia. So
a huge RC plane.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in it, is it technically? Well, I guess it's still radio controlled.
No. See, the beauty of this is that I would still take the airline flight, but I would just remotely control the airplane that you're on.
Oh, okay. No, we're not doing that. I've seen some of his airplanes. They don't look sturdy enough to haul me.
Nice little quantifier there.
Oh me. Up North Knowledge says they have fries with cheese and gravy and lobster, which is a giant crawfish. Yeah, we get a lobster here every now and again. Not like by here, I don't mean here at my house. I mean here in Alabama. Darren's asking about the acrylic that I've used in my enclosures. Have you used the JTech or just regular orange acrylic? Early on, I did use some just regular orange acrylic, but shortly thereafter, I decided to upgrade to the JTech once I started having more people in the shop than just myself. I got a little worried, so I wound up converting everything over to the JTech. I recommend the JTech. Just go ahead and do it before. That way you don't have to be concerned if somebody shows up in your shop and looks at your laser without glasses on through the glass. It's better safe than sorry. But at the time, I just did what I had to do to get me by. So, how far are you from Coleman, Alabama? I'm coming down to Syracuse in 3 weeks. Let's see, Coleman is above Birmingham. That's in Walker County, I think. So I'm thinking probably about an hour and a half, I believe. Pretty sure, yeah. Yep.
I don't know the geography here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm looking.
I know you were Googling. I was just wondering.
Let's see what it says here. About an hour 45.
Yeah, I thought it was about an hour and a half. Yeah, I think there is it in Walker County.
It's about Birmingham. It's halfway between
Yeah, I'm pretty
Birmingham
sure
and
that's
Huntsville.
Oh, yeah, Chris, they've done some adjustment to the. I noticed the other day they've changed some stuff in the cylinder correction and all that on the rotary. They have some tools in there now that can kind of help you calculate how much it's going to distort or appear to distort and how much to change it. And it's a percentage. Like, it's math. So y'all know I don't do a whole lot of math. I just use the tools. Best-selling items for on-site engraving: small stuff they can stick in their pockets, personalized, made to order. Pet tags, ID cards, medical alert bracelets, tags for back to school. You've got your kids' backpack tags. You've got sports bags is a big thing right now. Kids that play athletics, baseball, stuff like that carry a bag with them to practice. You can make like little tags either out of acrylic or on anodized materials. Parents hook it to their bags, their backpacks, or whatever that they take to their sports events. Small stuff. I have leaned more towards small stuff, high quantity now, than I have big stuff, low quantity. It's like me and Steve were saying. You can buy these little anodized pieces for like $15 for 100, and sell them. We were selling them for $8 a piece for the pet tags at Maymay's the other day, and people were praising us for our good prices because they're saying that they cost $25, $30 at the pet store. So, those are things I like.
Mm-hmm.
The small stuff. And if you do it on site, you don't have a whole lot of inventory. You just have blanks. You don't have stuff that it never sold. You just got blanks.
Yeah, you make a few examples, and hang them out there to get the wheels turning, and then
make yourself a little Chihuahua outline dog.
Yeah. That sparks the conversation of, oh, hey, can you make whatever? And you say, yeah, sure, let's do this up real quick. And
yeah,
you're like you say, the blanks are 15 cents to 30 cents a piece, and maybe another 10 cents for a key ring or the ball chain kind of thing. And then you got less than a dollar of material and time into it if you have the right machine with you that can crank that out in a minute or two. So.
Yep. Chris got an idea for a project right there. He's going to be selling those now. He said, hat tag material for larger tags to go on sports bags. So, yeah, that's a thing. Like I said, luggage tags. I mean, think about it. You got these folks that travel and they're dropping their luggage on these little carousels where it's just like, what is it? Pick the suitcase machines or whatever. Making custom tags for that nobody else in the airport's going to have, to where they can hook that to their luggage, and when it comes around the conveyor or whatever, go, oh, that's mine. I mean, stuff like that. You can make them out of leather. You can make them out of acrylic. You could use the stuff, the pleather.
Yeah, the
leatherette. I mean, you can make them out of all kinds of things. Those custom pieces are, the smaller, the more custom, the better, in my opinion.
I mean, for that matter, the dog tags work. But speaking of the leatherette, if you got a modest sized laser like this, you can make those leather patches in 4, maybe 5 minutes, engraved and cut. You get yourself an inexpensive hat press. I mean, they're $100 to $200 for the basic ones. You could do custom hats on site in a matter of maybe 10 minutes, and charge $25 for it. You have if you buy your hats at the right price, you're going to have maybe under $10 of material into it. So.
Oh yeah. Bob said he wants my doggy file. I think didn't I wind up having to put that thing. I think I put all my displays in Etsy because people were asking me, I need your displays. I need your display. So I think I dropped a file in Etsy that has my little Chihuahua dog pet tag display, my dog tag necklace display, and one other. I think I dropped a file. I think I dropped that file in Etsy because people kept asking for it. I'd have to look and make sure, but I'm pretty sure I did. So Bob, if you really want it, I'm pretty sure it's in there. Da, da, da. Let me check here. Yep, small item display stands. Yeah,
There
they're
it
in there.
is.
There they are. It's my bottle opener, the dog tags, and my stand-in chihuahua. They are in my Etsy shop. So I thought I did because I had a bunch of people that were like, "Hey, I want that. I want that. I want that." I'm like, well, whatever. So I dropped it on there. But it's like all the stands that you saw, Bob, that were setting up on my little table. It's all three of those. One holds dog tags. The other holds this my little chihuahua with a necklace, and then the other one is for the magnetic bottle opener one.
I think it's
I gotta go
funny.
to the refrigerator.
I think it's funny. I searched on Etsy for the Clack Shack. You know what the second thing that came up was?
Your lenses?
Yeah.
It's you've hacked my Etsy. That's the only possible explanation
Yeah.
for that. You've
No,
hacked my Etsy.
that's the issue with Etsy is it's great because they're doing a lot of work for you, but someone searches for you and you get exposed to your competitors. So.
Well, and it may be too that you like tagged me or put my did you put my name in like somewhere in the narrative?
No.
You sure? You sure it doesn't say in there like as recommended or as seen on the Clack Shack or something like that as seen on TV thing?
Yeah, no, I used you as a hashtag.
Probably did. Hashtag the Clack
If you're
Shack.
searching for Clack Shack, find this.
Yeah, go here. Yeah, when you put your tags in there, you put Clack Shack, Clack Shack, Clack Shack, the Clack Shack, Clack Shack, detail Shack. Apparently, Jack. Apparently, it works.
Yeah, that's a great way to find them, I guess.
Maybe I can start getting. Can I get affiliate commission off that?
Yeah, checks in the mail.
Okay.
I've noticed asking on your 70 watt, you said you cut at 30 millimeters a second. What power are you running?
100% power. Why less? But no, I run 100% power. I adjust my cut based on 100% power and whatever speed it'll go. Now, I don't run the fastest speed possible because you're always going to have those anomalies, and then you wind up with the box cutter going around and fixing these little tags. So I try to drop down to a point to where it's going to be a clean drop every time, even if I run through a glue pocket or something. So.
And yeah, Aaron mentioning the Richardson 113 hats, and those were some of the most popular ones out there. Leatherette, it costs you about $650, and so definitely some margin there. I mean, you look on at the kind of the customized leather patch hats, and I've seen them maybe as cheap as $20 on up to 30 plus for them. So just kind of depending on the quality and the work you're doing. I'm actually when I get back, I've got a customer that I'm working with. He wants me to do some hats, and we're also going to be doing some DTF transfer shirts for him. So I'll try to put a video together about that, because that's, it's not always 100% lasers that we do, and sometimes it's the add-on things, where a lot of people are doing various customization stuff, and so I'll try to share that whole process and how that went with everybody too.
You see that, don't you?
What's that?
Clack always runs wide open.
Yeah,
That's right. Hey, it just is. It is what it is, guys. If I wasn't going to use but 60 watts of it, I wouldn't have got a 70 watt. I know a lot of people, and people message me all the time. You can't run it at 100%. Well, that's kind of like saying that you're going to put dimmers on all your lights in your house so your light bulbs last longer. They're designed, that machine was designed to be able to run at 100% power. Assuming that the engineering is correct, their heat management is correct, you keep the machine clean, you have proper ventilation, meaning the fan's operating as it's supposed to, it shouldn't have any negative effect on it. Not enough to notice. Most of these diodes, you're looking at 50,000 to 100,000 hours runtime, assuming that you don't overheat it because you never cleaned it. That's going to outlast the bearings and the other components in the machine, in my opinion. I've yet to wear the module out on any of my machines, and I promise you, I run these machines a lot more than most people do, especially when I'm cranking out big orders. So me personally, with the CO2s, I get it with some of them, but if you keep it running cool and you don't do any of these crazy things, you see people like putting filters on their modules and all that stuff that's going to restrict airflow. You get that thing, keep it running cool like it's supposed to. It's no different than your TV. I mean, who in here turns the bright down halfway on their TV? Nobody. It's the same technology backlighting your TV as is doing the laser. It's just all a matter of heat management is what it comes down to, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so you can cut the power down, but now you're running the job longer. So if you've got,
Yeah.
like they say, what, 10,000 hours on it, and now you're taking twice as long to run the job,
Yeah.
you're clicking that odometer faster for the same job. So
Yeah.
there's definitely, if you're getting some of these no-name kind of knockoff things, they may
Yeah.
have compromised a bit on construction and quality, and the higher power may wear it out faster. That myth really did come out of CO2s, and even there, it's a mixed match of controller to tube. The tubes are rated to run up to a certain point, and at that point, yes, you're burning them out, and you're going to have diminishing returns. And there is something that to it, if you're going to run it at that peak power, you're going to wear it out a little bit faster. And so that's where doing your cut speed tests are going to give you, I'm really getting the most bang for my buck in this specific range. And that's where you should run, because as you get closer to 100%, you are having some diminishing returns on improvements. But
Yeah.
end of the day, it's a consumable one way or another. If you're doing it as a hobby, you're probably not pushing it very hard or very fast, and it's going to last you a long time. If you're doing it for a business, well, time is money in a business.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to be needing to replace that eventually. I'd rather get the orders out and be maximizing that time, and knowing that hey, I'm going to get X much use out of it, and then I got to replace it. Hopefully, you're factoring that into the cost of your jobs, and then you can afford that replacement when it comes up.
Oh yeah. Jarrett O'Grady, I don't typically do contracts per se. Uh, there have been times to where if somebody's going to send me a machine, they'll say, "Hey, we'd like for you to use it in 3 videos," and I'll say, "Okay, that sounds fair." And that's about the extent of what I do, and from what I know of Steve, that's what Steve does. Is we don't do contracts per se. I in no way diminish the full authority to say, show, do what I want to in my content. Now there's times to where maybe if you're doing a video of one machine, they might not want you like mentioning their competition 20 times in that video, and that's understandable from a marketing standpoint. But I have had companies say, "Hey, we want you to sign this contract," and they send it to me, but I don't do it. If I can't do the video the way I want to do it and be honest about it, I'm just not going to do it. It's not worth it to me. And to be honest with you, if I had that happen and a company told me I had to say this, that, and the other, I would probably then go out, purchase the machine, and do a horrific review on it. If you know what I mean, if they tried to bully me, I'm not going to be told what I can and can't say on my channel. This is my channel. If they were really good at marketing, my theory is if you were good at marketing, good enough to tell me how to do what I do, you wouldn't need me to do the video. But I don't have that problem. I've only had a couple of instances, and I know Steve's the same way, where people would try to tell you, "Oh, we don't want you to say this," or "We don't want you to say that." I've only had a couple of times, and it's not the companies themselves. It's some of these resellers, because a lot of the stuff that you get offered is not necessarily coming from Longer or from Xtool or from this company. It's usually going to be these marketing companies or resellers or whatever. But now with me and Steve, with Atom Stack and Xtool, I know for sure we both have company direct like contacts. Like our people that we deal with work directly for Atom Stack, directly for Xtool. A few other companies that we have. I know like with Rolly, I deal strictly with Leo. I don't go through anybody else. There's other companies as well, but I don't do contracts per se. I will do agreements where I agree that if they send me the machine, I will do a review video and 2 other videos in which I show the machine. Occasionally I'll do that, but I don't. I don't sign contracts per se.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's difference between a contract and an agreement. If you are bound contractually, it's different than if you agree upon certain terms.
And
So
and I also try to stay away from any sort of like paid. I mean,
yeah, I don't get
YouTube
paid.
requires us to check the box that it's like paid content because technically the equipment was provided to us, but that's usually the extent of our agreement, because it doesn't feel right to take their money and be at have that freedom to say what I feel about the machine. And but at the same time, I think both of us have told them, you can send it to me for review. These are the terms, but if I have problems with it, I'll reach out to you. We try to give them a chance to, correct
Yeah,
it if it's a problem
because
and
there's going to
whatnot.
be duds every now and then.
But if it's really a bad feature, I think we both have pointed out things in the past where like, hey, we ran into this problem. If it's just that bad that it is not working well, we just kind of mutually agree with the company. We try to tell the company like,
Yeah,
listen, this you've got some problems. You should fix these things. I don't really think it's in either of our best interest to put this out there, because just a completely negative review on something um, wouldn't be really in anyone's best interest, uh, in general. I mean, now, if someone's going to ask us about that specific one in a live stream here, we might say, hey, well, we played this and these are some of our concerns. You might want to stay away from it right now, but I'm not going to like put it out there in a searchable titled video. Stay away from this laser. It's horrible. It's the worst thing ever. I just don't feel that's content I want to have on my channel.
yeah,
But I'm also not going to just completely gloss over any of the deficiencies I see in a generally good laser, because that's feedback for them, and also letting people know. And that's why in my videos I tend to say, well, their rated specs are it can cut 12 millimeter wood at whatever. Um, I'll test that, and I'll often say, well, yeah, but to really do it well, you got to do multiple passes, or
yeah.
it's only going to work well in this softer wood versus this harder wood kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and it's hard to say that. Like a lot of these times, you hear them say, "Oh, this is, we're going to do this wood at this speed." Well, unless you have that exact same piece of wood, you're probably not going to get the exact same results. But like I said, I've never had anybody try to like really just make me lie or anything. I've had some companies. I've had a couple of companies who I have had multiple machines from them and had really really good luck with them. And just like with anything, just like if you went to the car dealership and bought a car today, there's going to be recalls, there's going to be problems, there's going to be bugs occasionally. But so far, anytime I've had that happen, the companies were like, "Hey, yeah, it's probably this. We're going to, try fixing this or doing that or whatever." And a lot of times, it's a problem that, you know, it's because we get machines a lot of times before they're even available to the public. I mean, we'll get them a month or two early, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that's something we need to let the engineers know about," and then we'll do it. So it's it, it's a ball of wax. I mean, you never know. But anyway, somebody was saying you have the design for the enclosure that you have now. Which design? I have a couple of designs on my website shared for Enclosurezilla and this other one. If you go to my website and go to Shop with Clack, they're not charge files, but that's the only place I had to put a link to them. You can just go download them off of Google. Gillette says L2 cough. Yeah, that L2 was not my favorite Acer machine. That was the one. That was not a fun experience for me. I know you've had good luck with yours, but mine wasn't so great.
I, I, yeah, mine has worked, but both the Acer L2 and the IKEA machines, I continued to struggle with the autofocus being consistent, and so
Yeah,
that was a little frustrating.
yeah. Now the P20 and the V35, awesome. Yeah, STL said he does the same thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know of many folks that, well, I think generally most folks will, that's the way they operate. And like I said, and that's one reason why I don't like people paying me to do videos. Because if you're paying me to do a job, I feel like I'm supposed to do that job in a manner in which you're, happy with. So it just goes against what I think. I mean, if you're paying me to do it, I feel like there's no way I can. I can't serve two people because if you're paying me, then you're paying me to do a service, but at the same time, the viewers expect a certain service. So if they pay me, I mean, I just like I said, and there's a couple of companies that may never send me another machine. They may never, because I pointed out some things that they kind of dropped the ball on. Just like with the A70, there's a couple of things that like that little red crosshair. I know they're trying to make the red crosshair fans happy, but us non-red crosshair fans would have really loved the dip switch that I could take a
Yeah,
toothpick
be able
and
to turn
turn
it
that
off.
thing off.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's different, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's some that will have a bit of a script, and
Yeah, I don't go by those.
I'm okay with if they want to tell me. I'll tell them if you want to give. You tell me what you think the features are that are special and important, and I'll take a look at that, and I will if I will try to rate it towards that. I will talk to them and try to test it and either prove or disprove it. The point of a lot of mine are like these are some real world things. They say it can cut at this. Realistically, this is what I'm seeing. It has this feature, and yeah, that seems to work okay, or I didn't find that very useful. But yeah, if I'm reading off a script, I feel just bleh.
Well, I can't even read directions, let alone a script. So I ain't fixing to run directions. I can't do a script. I can't do a teleprompter, and I barely can follow direction manual. So there's no way for me. It just you would render it too challenging. This is that is a Clack Shack logo on the bottom of the tumbler, and I did that with the MK2. Uh, I also did the engrave on the silver tumbler with the MK2, and once I got that done, because I took the bottom out of it and I marked the bottom of it, I believe. Now this was it's kind of hard to see without pouring my drink out, but now this was playing with the you can change the frequency on the MK2, and I'm pretty sure I did it with it. Yeah, pretty sure I did. I know I did this part. I think I did a video on this tumbler, matter of fact. If you go back, you can probably see the video. But this was one where I was experimenting with the fact that you can change the frequency on the MK2, and if you put it on 1,000 kilohertz, it does a little bit different than it does on 5,000 versus 10,000. And this was some silver tumblers that Klein had that he could not mark with some of the machines he had. So he got frustrated, and he brought me like a whole case of these things over here and said, I can't engrave them. Here you go. And I figured out how to do them with the Rolly. Because they weren't mine, so I just burnt through a few of them until I figured out the right settings. But then he wanted them back.
Daryl's asking about the Atom Stack X7 Pro. Now I did do one that was I believe a 5-watt diode that I had. I'm not sure. Sometimes Atom Stack has different.
X7.
Yeah, sometimes they have different.
They had an A5.
ones. But
X7, I think.
So I will often share like I won't necessarily list them out or have like a library of them, but I usually show the settings that I'm getting at least in some of the cuts on my videos. And so on some of those lasers where they're not like my primary machines, I don't really build up a big library to be able to share with them. So
Yeah.
I do have a video on that one with the rotary, so you can reference that, and generally I will say, hey, this one ran at X speed and power and such and DPI to help at least get you in there. But otherwise, if you're struggling with some of the settings, check out. I think we both have some videos on doing speed tests, speed and power tests. That's really what you want to get used to setting up, because even if I tell you my birch plywood cuts at this, you might have a different style of birch plywood. It might be slightly different. So you really want to be able to use those speed and power tests to really dial it in for you.
Yeah. Well, Brad, yeah, it's like I said, they do give you the machines, but to be honest with you, sometimes, and I know I speak for Steve too, some of these machines, the trouble, the time, the the stuff that like goes into trying to do the videos, sometimes it's not really worth, if it's not a machine that you're just dying to get. Sometimes it takes actually going, you know what, I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing it because I want this machine. I'm doing it so that people will know, honestly what I think about the machine. Because some of these machines, aren't really expensive, and it takes you 3 or 4 days to do all the testing, to do the assembly, to kind of like try to put it in scenarios to where you can make it screw up or mess up, and try to figure out what problems are people going to have with this machine if they do this. What's the machine good at? What's the machine not good at? It takes several days of testing to do that. And if you think about, you've got to shut down your shop to do this for this machine that you probably didn't really need or want in the beginning. Sometimes you get through with these videos and you're like, okay, I lost my rear end on that one. Especially if nobody watches it, because sometimes you get a machine that nobody really cares about, and it's just like you and your family watching it, and that hurts when you spent 3 or 4 days, trying to piece it together. Because some of these machines, like I said, a 5 watt diode. That's why you don't see me taking many 5 or 10 watts right now. It's because I know I'm not going to be using it on a regular basis. If it's a 20 to 70 watt machine, I can find a use for it. But taking machines that I know I'm not going to be using is just, it's just not worth the hassle these days, because I got enough machines to keep me busy already. Uh, Greg, that would do it every time, brother. If you put the incorrect or fail to put the diameter in there, it will make the shapes not symmetrical. So glad you got it figured out, though. Daryl says he believes it's the same as the S10.
Well, the
I don't know. I think
the
the A7 and
the Sculpt Fun S10.
no, I think Adam Stack did an A and an S series 10. It was a 10 watt
That's the
and a
problem.
20 watt.
That's
Their
one of my
naming
complaints with
schemes
Adam
is
Stack.
crazy.
Between AdamStack.com and AdamStack.net,
Yeah.
they have different. Sometimes it's just different color, but it's the A, X. I think there was another letter in there.
I had a P something another one time.
So yeah,
Adam
oh
Stack.
yeah, some of their
The
other
little
ones
the
are Ps.
tripod
Yep. So they
P40.
they often have slightly confusing numbers with them. So, but yeah, I do any new material that I'm going to use. I try to make sure I have some extra to run and test. Now, once you kind of get used to your laser, you'll be able to say, okay,
Yeah.
this should be similar to this other plywood or this other hardwood. I'll start with those numbers and tweak it from there. But that's really even different batches of the material can throw you off. So it definitely needs to. It's definitely good to run those your first time with a new material to get dialed in. From there, you
Yeah.
can probably, cutting, it's probably, can be, if you're off a little bit, it can still be a big mess. If you're off a little bit on your engraving, it's not going to be as bad. But yeah, it's something you just kind of get used to do. And that's also a good reason to get your machine dialed in, get your material dialed in, and try to stick with it.
Yeah. Cody, I gave away a 20 watt what was that? Whizmaker. Yeah.
Yep.
I gave away 20 watt Whizmaker. Last year I donated 5 machines to our local STEM program where kids learn about robotics and CNCs and stuff like that. I donated, I think they wound up getting 3 enclosures, 4 machines, like 17 pairs of safety glasses, 2 rotaries, like a whole bunch of, like a truckload of stuff. And I also support a lot of my local makers with some of the smaller machines that I have. I've had, retired folks that are makers that their machines break, that I know in the area, and I will basically just provide them a machine to use to continue their hobby and continue at events and stuff. I don't do a lot of selling events in town unless it's a really big one. And the reason is because there are a lot of people around here that do laser engraving projects, and they sell their stuff, and they're retired on a fixed income or whatever, and I don't want to go set up next to them and be taking sales or trying to take sales away from them, because that's what they do. I have other ways. I have customers. I have businesses I do work for, and so I don't do as much of that, but I do give away a lot of machines to people in my community, especially high schools. I've got machines in schools all over the county, not just the STEM program, uh, and it's churches. I mean, you name it. But I find ways of getting rid of them. But just I would there are times I would rather go buy somebody a machine than have to deal with some of these machines that are only a couple $100 because it ties me up from not being able to do projects for 2 or 3 days. And when I can turn out stove covers for a day or do a video on a $200 machine, I'm losing money doing the video on the $200 machine. I agree, Daniel. They do. They're AdamStack. We've got AdamStack.net and AdamStack.com, which is me and Steve fuss about that all the time. Primarily, we work with .com.
Well,
I've worked with .net.
Yeah,
but the last
there again,
3 came from .com.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating.
Sharon has a question for you, Steve. Wants to know what you lube your rails with. Ping Shing?
Well, yeah. Usually like any sort of like dry lubricant. So there's a light machine oil works well, but I've also used. I can picture the can in my head. There's a few different ones. You just want to make sure that it's not something that's going to attract a lot of grease, and that's going to get stuck to your, or not grease, but it's going to be greasy and attract a lot of dust and debris. So, any sort of dry spray on lube works pretty well. I don't know.
I don't have my Ping Shang in there.
But if you have nothing else, just some light machine oil, some sewing machine oil, you just want to get a thin coating on there. You don't want it like dripping off there. Yeah, Daniel, the PFTE dry lube spray is one of them. So it's you just don't want it to be dripping on things and actually collecting. That smoke has particulate in it, and so if it's a real sticky type lubricant, that's gonna grab that and hold on to it, and all that's gonna get into your rollers and such. So I try to stay away from that as well.
Yeah, you don't want anything that's going to be grabbing a lot of dust. That Ping Shang stuff is very dusty if you leave too much of it on there.
Yeah.
But it comes with all the AdamStack machines, and it's basically like a white lithium grease type stuff. But you want to use it really thin coats. Yeah, Chris, I'm pretty sure it's in my X-Tool boxes, but I've got this big dude sitting in my way. Let me find it. I gotta find it because everybody thinks I'm making this up about Ping Shang.
No, I'm pretty much sure they trust you.
I don't know where it's all. Did you steal all my Ping Shang? I know I've got like 9 tubes.
I don't think I've ever opened a bottle of that stuff that's come with it. I usually use my own. So.
I know I've got some. I don't know where it went. Unless it's in that X-Tool box that I had and I threw it away. Yeah, I may have gave it to Tip the other day when he came by. Because I gave Tip my 20-watt Pro. But anyway, oh well. There'll be some somewhere. All right, we have went way over, dude.
We have.
Yeah, and it's late. And I woke up early this morning. The rooster was being noisy this morning. I don't know how you didn't hear it.
I'm just good at ignoring things.
Yeah, well, he was on a rampage this morning. I'm surprised. I told Brandy, I said, Steve's going to go up there and kill that rooster.
Well, again, yeah, the air unit in that camper is a good white noise machine. So.
Yeah. Mark said, I've got some right behind me if you want it. No, I don't use it as much. I use my 4-in-1 mostly now because the 4-in-1, especially with the linear rails, you just kind of drip it on there, wipe it on with a cloth, and it's good to go. It's not real thick. It doesn't leave a real thick layer to hold a lot of grease and stuff, or a lot of dust and stuff. Because when you put that grease on there, if it gets dust in it, then it turns to like mud, and it just packs in crevices and stuff. Mm. So I've got to where I like using the thinner stuff. STL, what are you doing in a motel room? You done got kicked out? He's traveling again. He travels a lot. Steve travels a lot too.
Way too much driving.
But anyway, guys, yeah, my latest 3D printing job today too. So you'll be seeing that in the video for Steve's new project. What are we naming it?
I don't know.
We never did come up with a name because we were gonna engrave the name on it, and we haven't named it yet. Well, it's yours, so you're supposed to name it. I mean, I got Clack Shack Command, Enclosures, like Iron Man. I mean, what are you gonna name it?
Thing 1.
Thing 1. Yeah, it's a terrible name.
What,
It's
they
a good
wrote a
thing
whole
your
book
wife.
about it.
It's a
Thing
good
1 and Thing 2.
It's a good thing your wife named your kids.
That's not entirely true.
But anyway, guys, we're having a good time over here, making some stuff. Hopefully tomorrow, like I said, the ground will dry out and we can get out and do some stuff outside. But yeah, it's been fun. You know, coming up, seeing how the minds work together, and it's pretty cool too having somebody come over and go, "Hey, let's work on this project," and they actually design their own CNC file, because usually I'm having to design the CNC files. But today he was designing the CNC file for this, and I was designing some of the little holders and stuff in LightBurn and cutting them out. And it went pretty well. You know, we worked pretty well together, amazingly. But anyway, last call for comments. And if you hadn't already, Laser Engraver community page, and also if you haven't liked one of these two guys' pages, please do. I'm trying to hit 30,000 before my channel's anniversary, which coincidentally, my channel's anniversary is 2 days after mine and Brandy's anniversary, because I got monetized back June the 22nd of 2022, and so this year, June the 22nd, will be 2 years.
Wow.
Since I got monetized, and I want to hit 30. I know that's a pretty good bit, but I think we can do it, guys. With y'all's help, I think we can do it.
Well, apparently in between us working on this and live stream now, I rolled over 14K here this afternoon. So
Woohoo! Wait a minute. Hang on. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. 14K.
Thanks everyone who's checked out the channel and it continues to support both of us. It's much appreciated. We enjoy doing it, and hopefully we can continue to bring out more good content between the machine reviews, but also the projects and just some of the fun stuff we'll be doing down here as well. So
yeah, it's getting there. Like I said, we got a couple more days till maybe Tuesday or so, and we'll have something. Maybe we'll have something else.
Yeah, and we'll see. I don't know where I'll be next Sunday.
Good question.
I could be anywhere from.
It could just be me and Steve on a stick.
I could find myself lost and back here. I could find myself stuck in Georgia. I could be back in Minnesota. I don't know.
I should have ordered that Sasquatch I saw. But yeah. But anyway, guys, y'all have a good one. We're going to get off of here and go get some rest where we can get out here tomorrow and maybe make something. Steve's working on a video from today that we got most of the video put together and kind of showing off this thing. And hopefully we'll have more tomorrow. So stick around and stay watching those feeds.
We'll see you, everyone.